Welcome to Shadows of Dawn.
And welcome. Today should be a lot of fun. This is the Dragon Slayers of Velspar campaign recap. Cheers for everybody. All right, so Dragon Slayers of Velspar, first group out of all three groups that basically started this whole trek and got me into this whole misery. And today we're just going to kind of recap the whole campaign. So with us, I have Kel, who plays Kel Doran. I have Braylin, who plays Braylin the Swift. And Vonmir Ragmir, I'm sorry, High Priest Vonmir Ragmir, who plays our Dwarven Cleric. Say hi, guys.
Hello, everybody.
Good day.
All right, so you guys drug me into this. This is basically everything that has happened is kind of y'all's fault. I kind of remember vaguely sitting at the Texas Renaissance Festival and talking with Kel here about gaming.
Yeah. I had just left another very, very long-term game, and like 2 months before, and I had an itch to play again, and I had never played 5e, and I'm sitting there talking, and AJ and I are drinking, and he's like, well, I used to DM a lot, and I'm like, really? Let me go recruit some people.
That's kind of funny because I remember it was the sleepy monk that was also there. He was also like, yeah, let's do it. And then, of course, we drug Vonmer over. And then Vonmer came over and got involved.
I was game. Oh, yeah, let's do this.
So,
and the rest is history.
And the rest is history. So today we're basically just going to kind of run through the story so far, which takes us all the way through the campaign. So anybody who wants to read it, on our little PCs page here, you just go to Dragon Slayers of Velspar and you click on the little story so far. And basically we kind of chronicled this whole thing in episodes. So I made books and I made episodes we get in just little summaries. And they got a lot more elaborate as we got going. But who wants to talk about episode 1? Shadows of Dawn was the name of the first episode. And this was...
What a way to start. Yeah. What a way to kick it off, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, so I remember when we were getting our characters together, and I came to you and I was like, hey, in my old campaign, I was playing a knight, and so I kind of want to play the noble background. And he was like, oh, you want to play a noble?
Oh, you sure?
Sure, we can handle that. That's not a problem. Go for it.
Yeah, that was...
Episode 1 happened.
Episode 1 happened. So, episode 1, I think, it's a horrific... I started this whole thing with a horrific tragedy. I wanted to start it off kind of with a mystery, especially since you guys were new to 5e, except for Braylin.
Come out. I cannot hear what y'all are saying. It's all chopped up. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
It's like I hear every
speaker.
Third word.
You might disconnect and reconnect, Braylin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, episode 1 was basically a mystery. And I think in that episode, I wanted to start it, instead of like a lot of high-end combat, since a lot of you were new to 5e, a little easier with a puzzle, a solve, just kind of, not really puzzles, but, just kind of things to solve. And, I came up with the whole concept of having, the internal family massacred and having to figure it out. Plus, Kyle wanted to be a noble, so you want to be in charge. Well, now you're in charge.
Kill his family?
Yeah.
What a way to start, yeah.
So in the story, it's 2 noble families that have, that ages ago worked together to build this keep like 10 miles north of town, and at the time, every few generations, they swap who's in charge. So my character's uncle was actually the High Lord. It was High Lord Kessel, and I was the oldest of the two families. My character was the oldest son for the next generation. So I was kind of set up to be the next High Lord anyway. But he basically sent us out on an errand because one of my cousins was getting married. And it's like, go down to the big trading town, 30 miles away, and buy a bunch of really nice stuff. Here's a list, here's a bag of coins, and come back with everything I've provided, and take a bunch of people that you trust because this stuff's expensive. So we did. And then on the way back, things got real weird.
Yep.
Weird for us, really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this whole concept, I was delving it a little bit with Ravenloft, since your cousin had made a pact with a demon, which of course becomes quite how should we say, important later on. But that was story one. Started off with kind of a big murder mystery. I'll let you guys go through it. So.
As we slug through my castle on the way home, and all of my family members are horribly mutilated, and I have a cousin's unborn child coming back as a fiend to attack me from under the bed.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I remember that.
You're getting
That
all
was
sad and
saves.
paralyzed.
disgusting,
So
actually.
many wisdom saves.
Yeah, you're getting all
So
sad
many-
and paralyzed, and Bomber's like, come on, dude, we got to go. Come on, we got to clear this stuff. Come on, man, keep going, let's go. Snap out of it, man, snap out of it.
So you did manage to finally defeat what was going on, but there was a curse that had fallen over the land, and unfortunately Braylon's love interest in the past had been turned into a wolf, which comes into play later, which is kind of interesting. But
Holding the meaning
That
with
was my
the
younger brother.
yeah,
Yep. But
So
we didn't
then
know
up
that
next
at
was-
first. We didn't know that at first.
that's true. So then up next was the second episode. This was the Fall Festival. So I think you guys were the first ones to really kind of experience a normal fall festival. Sort of normal.
Sort of normal, yeah.
Oh.
Quasi normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was the Welcome Back Inn, where you guys had the plot to investigate the magical portal.
This one was trippy, yeah.
That was a ride. I tell you what.
This one was trippy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the Welcome Back Inn, like, I've seen a couple of different inns built out for different games, and this was such a fun layout to work our way through, especially because, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a location to have an entire adventure in, but when you get to reuse it multiple times because we're time hopping.
Yep.
Yeah, we were basically in a broom closet.
Yeah.
It was basically a broom closet.
So yeah, this one is based off of an old adventure, a Blackmore adventure, where it basically does this. I think they call it the Comeback Inn. Does kind of the same thing, but it acts as kind of a. Theirs didn't really act as a prison. This one kind of acted as a prison, but it's a way of using the same map multiple times because you get to a point. You get something, you go back through the portal, but it doesn't take you back where you were. It takes you to a different point in time. Right, so you guys saw past. Well, you were in the present, then you saw past, and then you saw future.
Yeah,
So-
we're not talking like a few months either.
Yeah,
We're
definitely.
talking large amounts of time.
500 years into the future.
Yes.
So that was
tricky. And of course, if you tried to leave, like, you'd hop out a window or try to jump off a balcony, and then you'd fall
You'd come right back
through
in,
the,
yeah,
the
you-
center of the ceiling.
You would be-
right onto your face on the floor.
you would be
Yeah, we tried that.
welcomed back
You'd
in.
be welcome to back. Yeah.
That's
That's the name.
that's the
No.
name. You just now.
Oh. Well, welcome to the conversation, Braylon. Welcome.
Shut
Yeah.
up, shut up.
Shut up.
I'm here.
Thus, you would be welcomed back in. So that was
That one-
cool.
that
But
one
this
was
is also the episode where you met the very young Delantry.
Right.
Yes.
Baby.
Marlo DeLange.
Yeah, we had to save him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the one you had to save, for kind of reasons unknown at this point in time. But yeah, that was interesting. The very young noble proves vital to escaping the prison. because he was too little to defeat the monsters outside of his room. And you also kind of learned that the Welcome Back In had like some magical properties about it. It had a way of doing things itself. And so you guys were kind of privy to that early on.
I liked that episode. I thought that was fun.
It was cool, yeah.
Made a note
I have
about-
expected it at one point to be a giant mimic.
Maybe in the
Didn't
next
we,
age. Who knows?
Isn't that where we first encountered Denise?
In the mirrors.
No.
Well, not
the next
first
one.
encountered, but that he was in the mirrors. This is where
Yeah,
where
it was some
Kel
in the mirrors.
basically almost beat up the whole party because he kept failing
Yeah.
wisdom saves. He would look in the mirror
Again.
and be charmed by Denise,
Again.
and the fighter turns around and starts attacking the whole party.
Yeah. I almost party wiped the group.
Yeah.
It was not
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you very much.
I like what I forgot what level we are, but yeah, it was touch and go.
I think you're
All
about
right, scales.
third or fourth.
Yeah,
Three or
we're still
four.
like pretty low level. Yeah.
Yeah, you're pretty low level. So the fighter's whumping on everybody, and he can't make a wisdom save. I think he failed like 10. It was like
Yeah, and he
Yeah, easily.
Like
10
2
in a
sessions
row
back
or
to
something
back,
like
yeah.
that. It was pretty bad.
And to be fair, my wisdom stat is, I didn't put hardly anything in it, but it's not like it's like a 6 or an 8 or something. Like I got a
Yeah,
base
like a
wisdom stat of 10.
Yeah.
It's
I
not like
just
it's low
don't have
enough, it's just a
proficiency
10.
in the saves, and so there's no bonuses. I'm running a flat D20, and I
Right.
just cannot roll over like an 8 or a 10 for like a dozen rolls at a time.
So how long? I mean,
quite
the
fun.
bad guy you're going after was Denise. How long did it take you guys to figure out that was Fiend
The name?
spelled backwards?
I think Tiffany was the one that said it. I'm like, holy
that
shit,
was
that's
the-
awesome.
I think it
That
was
was
during.
the
I think,
third or fourth adventure by the time we figured it out.
yeah, it was right around then that we figured out that that's what that meant.
Yeah, so can you highlight in that? Yeah, but if you highlight his name, yeah, Denise is Fiend spelled backwards. Yeah, it took me a while to figure that one out. I think Tiff.
But
I
then
think
when we
you
did
figured
figure it
it
out, we're like, how did I not see that?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, come on, it's AJ. We should have seen that. What the hell?
But at this point, all we had seen is him in the mirrors. We had no idea what kind of creature he
Correct.
was.
Right.
All you saw
And
were
we didn't-
eyes in a
We
mirror.
didn't physically encounter him for like
Right.
the first
Just
4
mirrors.
episodes.
I think that's true. Yeah. So then, after the Welcome Back In incident, you guys were some of the first ones to basically have to deal with winter in the Frostdale Freeze, episode 3, where you guys had to trek up to Frostdale because they were calling for aid because a white dragon had attacked the town of Frostdale. And I guess for those who are kind of wondering map-wise, these guys are, Frostdale's way up here in the north. Velspar's northerly, and they were here for the Welcome Back In adventure, so then they traveled back to Velspar. But this northern trail didn't exist, so they had to basically trek it through the Oakwood Forest and then all the way up to Frostdale in winter.
In winter,
It's
I mean, it's
nippy.
like all caps, like winter.
yes.
It's like
Winter in the valley is brutal.
the dwarf can't be seen in the snow winter. I mean, it's like, deep.
Yeah.
Did you die?
But did you die? Almost.
Yeah.
You know,
So
people
I
hit
think it's,
exhaustion levels and shit.
one of the things I guess in a lot of campaigns I like, weather doesn't seem to matter. So for this one, I wanted it to really matter. And you guys, the valley's very polar. It's close to the north on the planet, so it's going to get cold. And, the snow drifts get high. But the fact that everything shuts down, I thought was kind of different.
Yeah, 3 months out of the year, it is so cold, and there's so much
4
snow.
months.
4 months out of the year,
Yeah.
it's so
hunker
cold,
down.
and there's so much snow that travel basically comes to a halt.
Yeah,
Trade
you-
comes to a halt.
You
Right.
go home and you stay there for that time.
The fact that we managed to accomplish two separate adventures in winter was like a massive, like nobody had ever done it in a valley.
Right.
Yeah, we walked into
We're
Frostville.
not
Like,
badass.
you just walked up here from Velspar? Are you crazy? And you lived?
Yeah.
I mean, the oldest resident of Velspar was an NPC called Malvo. When my character went to talk to him about what we could do and if this was even feasible, he was like, "You're all gonna die."
It's been nice knowing you. See ya.
It's like crazy
That's
kids.
what we do.
Crazy
He's-
kids. You
that
do crazy
character's an elf
adventures.
that's
you
like
know.
That's what we do, though.
Something years old.
And that
He's
dog,
yeah, No,
too.
nobody goes in winter. You're all gonna die.
That dog, too.
So you guys made it up there, and you found there was basically a young white dragon that was, I think you guys are about 5th level a bit this time. It was kind of terrorizing. And then she flew off into the Gossamer Peaks, and you guys had to go chase her down. And this is where we started discovering that rest problem.
Yes,
Oh.
that was annoying, but totally believable. It was like, ugh. But before we get to that point, though, I remember in this particular episode, we were in the Gossamer Peaks trying to get to where this thing's lair was, and there's a sheer rock face, and our trail has gone. And one of our other players, who he was playing a ranger at the time, pulls out a what was it, a Tall's feather token.
Oh, yeah.
It tries to fly. Oh yeah.
No.
Tree.
It was the one that instantly grows you like a huge oak tree.
Yeah.
And so we just grew an oak tree and climbed it to the next level of the.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was a great use of the token. That was a great use of the token.
I didn't even remember that.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably on your phone or something.
Like, how the hell did we get up this thing?
Hey, Mr.
Oh,
Pokemon. Mr.
shots
Pokemon. Pokemon, I saw you.
That's my wife, man. That's my wife.
No, that was you too. I was sitting
So
over there,
yeah,
I could see-
Frostdale Freeze. You like I said, you got back into the caves, and this was one where the adventurers started to rest, like after every fight.
Yeah. Were we like the most sleepiest party you had? Because I looked.
Ironically, no.
So,
And
so
you
we
got
lost.
much better faster. I think this one
Yeah, we
really kind
learned.
of sunk in and kind of taught more of a lesson, because when they got to the dragon chamber, the dragon had basically left. It took its treasure and it
Yeah,
left
we
because
took
they
a
took
short
an 8-hour
rest
rest, literally the room in front of the dragon.
We
And
were
so,
like close to dying. I mean,
yeah, so I had as opposed to die, which is fine.
That
I
was,
mean,
that was Vonmer. Vonmer.
but expecting the dragon to sit there and be like,
can't
yeah,
heal no
just,
more.
come and kill me.
What?
I'm waiting for you to just come and kill me.
yeah, I'm gonna stay here and wait. Yeah, you guys go ahead and snooze. It's okay. I'll be here when you wake up.
Yeah.
Well, I
and
had
the
no,
dragon
like, no
may or may
heals,
not
no-
have left, but in the course of our fight, but right before the room, like the dragon there was a little imp creature that went and
little
warned
damn
everybody.
imp.
Yeah.
And so
Oh.
that
Yeah.
like we should have caught on to that
Yeah, I
point. It's
forgot
like they're
about that.
expecting us now.
But
Yeah.
honestly, I
Instead, we
mean,
took an 8-hour rest.
So I'm surprised
we
you
had
remember
blown our
that.
wads.
I'm surprised
Yeah, I
you remember the imp
I remember the
creature.
imp.
The imp creature is Kilmany, which it was played a little bit pivotal in Fellhammer 5's beginning. So he was basically the third general out of the fiend troops.
But honestly, I mean, we had blown our wad at that point. I don't think you had any of your fighter points left. I was out of healing. If we had fought the dragon, we would not be sitting here having this conversation.
Out of,
Yeah.
So, yeah, better run away and fight another day. You know.
And
were
you
out
had
of
to.
spells.
Yeah.
Caroline was out of spells.
Yeah,
Right.
we were
I
out.
remember.
We were tapped.
And you had to, in the return, episode 4, the return to Velspar, where you had once again to trek back through the winter to rush to Velspar because the dragon was seen flying in that
Right.
direction.
Mhm.
As the
Oh,
dragon
yeah, it
flew
was
back
still
to
winter.
Velspar to take
I had
revenge.
one little fortuitous circumstance card left at the end of that, so we're like, crap, it's headed back to Velspar. When we get back to Frostdale, and they had built us a sled to help us get back.
That did help. That did help.
Yeah.
Yep, playing that fortuitous circumstance card was big to help you get back there faster. Because I had, I guess as a DM, I had X number of deaths per day.
Oh,
That
nice.
the dragon was there and you weren't, right? So it only took the dragon like a day to get there because they fly
Yeah,
so
it was flying,
fast.
yeah.
And it took you guys several to get back. So that was a big difference. But to make it short, you guys did return to Velspar. You managed to kind of drive the dragon. It attacked the town, and then it flew off south into the hills. And you guys chased it down, found its burrow, and went in. There were some knolls, and that's where you got the name.
We
Dragon
got our
Slayers.
name. Yeah, Dragon Slayers.
Dragon Slayers of
Yes.
Velspar.
Dragon Slayers of Velspar were officially born.
So that
And
was
there was
episode
much rejoicing.
4.
Cool adventure. Cool adventure.
So episode 4 was also the episode where there was a little present left behind for you to draw from.
The deck
Oh
of
God,
Many
no.
Yes.
No.
The
The
deck.
deck of many things.
Woo!
Many
I
bad
have mixed
things.
feelings about that. The deck scares me, yo.
So yeah, that was
Dwarves
great
are
because
coming to
Vonmer really helped me
You know,
align the campaign.
I love helping the DM. Yeah, that was gonna be my question,
Oh yeah,
right?
because you
So
had that demon after you. That's what.
yeah,
That's when that
so
happened.
Yeah,
Vollmer
yeah.
pulled
So
two
look,
cards, right?
hey,
The
hey,
first one was the gem card, and the second was
yeah.
the
To be
freaking.
fair, it also made you freaking rich.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I pulled the 50,000 GP, which I built a church with, and then
And you had a demon
build
after you. Fierce
the
trade.
fiend after me, and I guess my family as well. We turned to find out, but yeah.
Yeah,
So how did that change your
pulled the
plans at that
Inferno
point?
card.
So
Yeah,
I had the plan for the fiend to be kind of the pivotal character in the background, but this really let me make it personal.
personal. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I
This really
do.
got to let me make it personal. So instead of as a DM trying to figure out, for you guys to go help other people who, may have needed your help and to pull you into adventures in that direction, this one just made it This one made it easy because now he just had this unbiased, for whatever reason,
Hated me.
hated you. And so basically I got to do to Von Mer's family what I already did to Kels.
Yeah, it was kind of rinse and repeat. It was awesome.
That's love. You see why we do
Speaking of
this?
hell, God, so the only reason I did this was because Braylon here looked at me and said, in all the years that she's been playing, she's never seen a deck of many things. And I'm like, well, okay, so it must be really rare. And I'm sitting there going, fine, I'll pull two cards.
That's never been good to
trusted
me.
a rogue.
So I get the curse card where I'm like -2 on everything, and then thankfully I get the Vizier card, which somehow gives me a way to unjack that.
Yeah, that
with
was
an
actually
adventure.
pretty darn lucky. So know the answer to your next dilemma with the Vizier, and you drew the curse. So it's like -2 on all saves, all skills, and everything.
Everything.
And
You
then,
was jacked up.
yeah, that was pretty darn lucky.
Like
which
10% across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that
Which-
also let us track in something else that at the time I didn't think a whole lot of it, but then as our playing progressed and the storylines progressed, it actually became a really big deal. Come to find out, the keep has a library.
Yep.
And like that's actually a very rare thing in the valley. We come to find out later. And so I was able to use the Vizier card and do a bunch of research and figure out where to go for our next adventure.
Right. So it wasn't just you either. There was several things to track down, which led to that next adventure in search of the sacred shrine of lost thought. So everybody basically started diving into rumors and stories, and you were in the library working there, and all sorts of different fictions and whatnot in order to track down in search of the sacred shrine of lost thought. Right. So this was basically the Vizier card in action, which basically this made me pivot as a DM because the party wanted to take this action, and it's like, I want to use this to unjack my curse. So it's like, well, the Vizier card's going to do it. So I had to kind of figure out how to make this story happen.
So you didn't have this planned at all? The whole temple, the whole...
No.
Well, that's pretty cool. All right.
This was a total pivot because of the PCs basically wanted to help kill unjack himself.
It was a badass adventure, man. Holy shit.
But at the same time, you also had the curse on Velspar that it turned the people from the very first adventure, the people who had been cursed who were turned into wolves, right? So you were also dealing with that curse. And you also had Kill, who was tied up into the marriage contract because of the whole massacre thing, right?
Yeah.
Because there was an arranged marriage between two families, one in Fellhammer and the one in Velspar. And since
she was young,
right, well, and since the daughter in Velspar turned out to be the one that caused all the trouble and the curse and killed everybody, she ended up killing the Lantry son, and so the Lantry family in Fellhammer was upset, and so they had basically said, since this had happened under Kessel Dwarin property, that in order to make things right between the noble families, that Kel was going to have to marry their only daughter, who was only like 8 at the time, but they would be betrothed,
so
when she got of age, then she would have to marry. So he was now in a forced marriage that was going to happen, in years and whatnot. And so in order just to keep the peace between the noble families. So you had the marriage arrangement, you had the wolf curse, and then you had Kel's personal curse. So you basically had 3 big things you're trying to unjack when this all went down. So
we got in there, and one of our players got turned to stone.
That was I wrote a note that was actually my favorite episode.
It was a cool episode, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Only because, I used what I could to undo the curse on the Velspar people because Marcus was cursed. And I had to decide if I was going to be really make it personal and be selfish,
which
or
you
help
did.
my comrade. But it all worked out in the end. And, what? Excuse me?
Well, you remember little Jack and little Jill were the little baby wolves too.
Yes, and Jack and Jill, who were my favorite children
Jack
at the
and
orphanage
Jill.
that I grew up at. I went down that road, and I was like, I'm sorry, guys, but I gotta lift the curse.
So this was
my favorite episode. It was like, as me as a player, it became very personal to me.
Yeah,
I don't think that's happened before.
When we actually got back to Velspar, I remember you as a character crying when you saw Marcus and the kids. I remember that. I do. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you're definitely involved. Yeah,
I was very involved in this character.
And that's a tribute to a damn good DM, also.
It is, especially since Marcus, is actually Kale's brother, but played by my husband, who is very awesome.
Yeah. Well, there's that. Yeah.
So the long and short of this one it was kind of magic sacrifice into this lost shrine, which was near impossible to find. The only way that they could find the shrine was through massive amounts of research, making certain rolls over time. And so just basically, that's why it's called a lost shrine. But if you find it, if you sacrifice enough magic into this, basically it's like this bottomless hole. You sacrifice enough magic.
Isn't that where we dumped all our magic items into?
Yep.
Oh, we just kept throwing shit in there.
Yeah, because you didn't want the wish to go awry, right? So
I remember that.
They had no idea how much to throw in to make it good, so they chunked in a lot of stuff. But you could only use it one time in your life, right? So you could never use it again. So that's how they unjacked the curse. That's how they, I think Vonmer resurrected the son of the Delantry family so that now the Delantry family couldn't hold anything over Kel because they hadn't lost anybody.
Yeah, the only one that didn't do a selfish wish, by the way. Just let that be known. Well, anyway, continue.
Well, and Braylon lifted the curse on all the wolves. That's technically not that selfish.
Hello.
Oh, bull crap. She did that for one reason only.
For the city of Velspar.
Whatever. You can spin it how you want to, Bray, but we know.
I remind our dwarf that in the end he came out smelling like roses as a high priest with a brand new entire temple complex.
Yeah,
it's because I drew the cards of the deck of many things. Yeah, it's because of my action. That's right.
Speaking of the card, that brings us to episode 6, Fires Below the Forest.
Fires Below the Forest.
So with the curse lifted, you received valuable information about Denif's stronghold deep within the Oakwood Forest under the Aramir ruins. And you set back off into the Oakwood Forest to basically, I think this is the first time you actually saw Denif.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we got a new member to the PC group. So we had Maul the Ranger, and in this episode, who got turned to stone, and so this episode we had a new member join the team, and it was Fex the monk,
the sleepy monk.
The sleepy
yes,
monk,
yeah. Fex the ever sleepy.
He's got to recharge.
That's where we did the. No, that's not it.
This
is
had
where
the big
we
ruin
smashed
complex,
mirrors, right? Then we smashed mirrors down there.
Yes.
Yep.
This was his scrying device.
Scrying device, right?
That he used the mirrors in order to see, and he had the mirrors placed all around the valley so that he could scry through any one of them that he crafted. And so here you basically blew up that scrying crafting station. So, for anybody who watches this, anytime the PCs would come across one of these enchanted mirrors and Denif was watching, he could attempt to charm them through the mirrors. Mm-hmm. And so they became very mirror phobic.
Yeah, charm.
We were
and
smashing every
gentleman.
mirror we came across.
Yep. Smash them, smash them, smash them.
Those
Even
little
today, they're
lemurs
like, I don't
that
care about
we
7
had
years
were
bad luck.
actually
Smash.
pulling lava out of the ground and shaping the lava into the mirrors when we got down there
The
to
lemurs. I remember.
Well,
the
Fex got down there very fast.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
he did. Almost died again.
like, wait a minute, I'm a monk. I can
Yeah,
slow
he's like,
fall.
I'm a monk.
I'm gonna do that now
I can
while
slow
everybody else is
fall.
3 rounds
And then
away.
I think it's like he can negate 20 feet out of the 100-foot fall.
Yeah, the rest of us can't, monk, but you be you, boo. Go for it.
So yeah, he basically, the monk jumps down and takes like a whole bunch of damage. He's laying there, and all the little lemurs start like crowding in on him, and the rest of the party is like slowly climbing down the stairs. So he's got to deal with it all for like 3 rounds.
Give us a minute. We're on the way.
Yeah.
He and,
Up and
he
down
and I
there.
were on the same level because we were using 2 ropes, and he looks down, and all of a sudden he looks at me and was like, "For Leroy."
Bye.
Oh, yes.
Gotta do my monk thing. I'm like, really? All right, dude. Your healer's still up here on top, and I'm slow, by the way. But you go ahead. It's all good.
Gravity is a harsh mistress.
Hey, John.
So, the fiend Denis did manage to escape your clutches.
Good.
But that brings us to episode 7, The Secrets of Bone Hill. So this one took you to the east side of the valley,
The ale.
which is, so the Aramir ruins are up here, ruins of Aramir.
Dorf
ancient
was
ruins.
salty this entire episode.
And then
Salty.
Bone Hill's way over here. So you had to go, at that point in time, you couldn't really cross
always salty.
the river. You had to kind of go around through Sarenshire, up the Frostdale Trail, and then out to Bone Hill. So you had your swamp adventure.
Yeah. So winter was ending at this point, and that river with the ice melt becomes completely unpassable. So we had to go all the way around to a major bridge.
Yeah.
And that got my character already thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, this is
We were trying to
obnoxious.
figure out who was making this red dragon ale.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why Vonmer was so salty, because he had
Getting
some
my
serious
business.
competition, and we were
Yeah,
trying-
that's when it started
Red
showing
Dragon
up.
Stout showed up.
yeah, Red Dragon's a stout, right?
The Red Dragon
The
Stout that
backstory,
had the
yeah,
little
my-
smoke on the top. Yeah.
My brothers and I were running a brewery that my family started way back when, and then this ale comes in as a competing ale. We find out that was what did part of the Denis plan and all of minions he had fired up. Bastard.
So you guys had to deal with the swamp. This was the first time you really had to deal with the swamp. So water, lizard folk, you ran into
Lizard folk.
slaves. You know, all of these things kind of came to the surface. And then deep in Bone Hill, you fought a black dragon. And you also met with the sea hag, which you thought
Yes,
was Gertie
yes.
McGee. You know,
Oh,
not
right.
sure.
Yeah, we thought it was, yeah.
Still
That
to
was
be
my-
undetermined.
That was the first time I hit the floor in this entire in-depth campaign.
Yeah, because I think this is the first time you guys ran across, apart from the White Dragon breath, like magic, AoE magic, where she's throwing lightning bolts. And yeah, that's a lot different. And then your movement in the
stuff.
water was hindered, right? So everything you're looking at in the picture, this is basically a sunken ruins. So there were ledges where they could get up out of the water, but in the water, they're still moving in difficult terrain.
Before I got water walking, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you had it for this.
Did it wear out or what the hell?
So while we were on our way there, you were casting it as a
Concentration
ritual,
spell.
so you weren't burning spell slots. But then
Oh,
once we
right.
got there and we needed all of your prayers, you couldn't cast it because you couldn't spare the
Right.
slot.
And it's concentration, I think, too, right? And I suck
Yeah,
at concentration
yeah.
anyway, so yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun stuff.
So that was that. Then the party returned
Dragon
to
number 2, by the way, down.
Dragon number 2.
Yes.
Dragon 2 down. Yep.
Turn our
Whoops,
names.
two
It's a
down.
young black dragon.
And Denise toasted.
Yep. And Denis
General
was toasted.
number 1. Yeah, he ended up being a bone devil.
Yep. And
And
managed up.
at this level, the bone devil was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're only like 6 or 7 here.
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, 7. Probably
So,
7.
yeah, the bone devil was very hard at this level. More on that later.
Yeah.
So then we come to the second book. and this is when the party returns to Velspar to find tragedy. So Von brewery and fields have been burned and destroyed. His brother's kidnapped. Mysterious note threatens his brother's death if he tries to rebuild. Town council has shifted. There was an air of mystery. There was, a plant on the council now. They're working against you. And all of that. Yeah.
Orange paint.
Yeah. With the orange
We were
paint.
tracking down orange paint.
Yep.
There were clues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that led to episode 8, the
was
slave
our
pits
Scooby-Doo
under
moment.
the city. I mean, I know there's an old module called Slave Pits Under the City, but this was kind of taken there, a little bit of context, but it was definitely not the exact same module at all. It was very different. So this is where you met Saffron. This is the first time you met Saffron, the NPC.
Cool. Under cat.
And Windharrow too, right?
Well, you met Windharrow in the swamps.
I forgot
Yeah.
Windharrow.
We didn't understand. Windharrow ended up being so annoying because he
Yeah,
was
he
always
was.
invisible. We weren't quite, and he was always a prick.
Yeah, he was.
But this is the first time you met the NPC mercenary Saffron, and she had basically captured one of the people that y'all had put a bounty out about the orange paint. You managed to find out the orange paint was used in mining companies, and that's where you found Naboj Mining Company.
Naboj.
Anybody recognize that one backwards?
Yep. And so that ended up being our next devil adversary,
Jaban.
Jaban.
Yeah.
Right.
So, in this one, let's see. I think I have pictures.
Naboj.
There you go. So this one also had the famous fight
Yeah, it's
in the
cool.
Tinseltown streets.
Oh my God. Hate to the
Oh,
town.
That's the one where we all fell down the ladder.
That's where we all got arrested for killing people.
Well, y'all got
Oh,
the
that's right,
bounties
right,
on your
right.
bounties on you, right?
Right.
So in the city of Tinseltown, like a lot of other cities, basically they had some thugs provoke a fight. So our heroes, our illustrious heroes, start killing people.
Murder hobos.
Well, to
Yeah.
be fair, the first thing we did was we had a wand of holding, and
I held him.
thugs were being obnoxious, so Vommer decided in his infinite wisdom as our priest to be merciful and just cast,
Whole person.
cast whole person on them from the wand of holding, and then we could just leave. And that's
It
what
all-
we tried
it
to
all
do. And the
decided
second
it.
that happened, all hell broke loose.
They're using magic on us. No,
No,
Well, we should
Garnet
have been
2000. The bounties are now
Yeah.
expired. It's
Yeah.
like, but they could have. You could have collected on them. Bounties are now expired. So yeah, this basically kind of reinforced kind of the rules of what's legal and what's not legal. Kind of getting back to
And it
some of the
changes by towns.
yeah, which changed by towns in the valley because this isn't a kingship. One king doesn't rule the entire valley. The towns kind of very police themselves. This is really kind of your first big interaction with Tindleton, which kind of, I guess, how would you describe Tindleton?
The government.
It is a profiteer's shanty town
Yeah.
in the extreme, and as close as any city is to being near completely run and owned by one family.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. So
And that's where we learn not to be murder hobos on
So
it.
I mean,
NPCs.
ramshackle, like built haphazard, like
Yeah.
your idea of like a sprawling medieval slum of buildings that have just been cobbled to piece together.
Yep.
Over
Yeah.
It was a
time
cool
as
layout.
fast
It
as
was a cool
possible.
layout.
So you guys managed to go down into the mines in Tindleton, and this is where you found, let's see, a stash of goods that implicated the Naboj Mining Company in both slave trading and some of the activities that had taken place against Vonmer and the Little Church of Morden that was just starting.
Little church.
So, little tidbit. This is kind of funny. So, Vanifer, this was a guy that was kind of a horned man down there. He was like a tiefling type. You guys didn't know it at the time, but this guy was basically one of the leaders of fire cultists. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They came back into play later. All right.
yes. So as you guys ended up kind of dispatching a fire cultist leader very early on. Ergo, whenever we had the cultists that appear later, you never really ran across fire cultists, is because it had already been taken out.
Okay.
Oh, nice. All right,
So,
cool.
had this guy escaped, then you would have probably
Can't
dealt
hate
with
it.
fire cultists later.
Oh, yeah, I can't hate that.
So this was
Can't hate
a
that.
fortunate event. So he was holding the Bronner's brothers captive. You defeated him. And this is when you went back to the surface and you came out into the warehouse again. And there was Wind Harrow. Once again, this is the second time you've seen him.
Nose.
And he had his NPCs. He had his mercs with him.
And we were down
I tried
low.
to hire.
Yeah, you tried to hire him.
And this is where we learn, always take a short rest before you exit an adventure. Because we thought we were done. We walk out, we're like
Yeah.
Yep.
zapped.
Yeah,
And
or
he
tapped.
damn near cleaned our plow,
And then
man.
we
It
had
was
another
close.
whole like
It was
group of
close.
8 people like
Yeah,
come
this,
out of the woodwork.
this was a
literally.
rough fight because, yeah, you guys had just taken out Vanifer. You'd taken out the big, one of the big bosses there. You discovered the assassination plot. And then they're all like, okay, we're going to leave. And then
As a
you
cleric,
come out the
fucking
top
high on
and
this
it's
one.
like, there's the mercenary ambush.
Yeah, I'm
Surprise.
like, oh shit! All right, we might lose somebody here,
Fucker
fellas. Sorry.
factor was high.
Poker factor was high. Yeah,
But you
I-
managed
I
to
was
pull it
making
off.
My own diamonds. Yeah.
And this led into episode 9, Teach Their Own. So I think in this was the end of the year where we go all back to Ren Fair, and this is the online RP. So this was the online RP stories that we did individually, right? So we weren't meeting face to face anymore. All of this was just completely online.
And
Well,
that,
we were all drunk in a field together.
and the online RP, that's another cool thing I want to mention. I mean, that kind of helped things go between episodes. So we're jumping from episode to episode, but there's always something kind of working in the background that AJ's working to offline.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Kind of keeping everything going. So
Keep
yeah,
the
that
story
was pretty
moving.
Yeah, there's
So when we come to the table, we're ready to
right.
play the table and not backtrack and figure out what's going on behind the scenes. We already know.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
Yep.
Yeah, and it helped me a lot too because I could be ready because if the online RP hit to a point where it's like, okay, it's really time to throw dice and do tactics, then when it came to the table, I knew exactly what to set up. So I didn't really have to do a whole bunch of pivoting at the table anymore. By handling the online RP on Facebook, it made it so easy. And that's why, I think for the Second Age campaign, we're going to expose that openly so that anybody can watch the online RP.
Oh, cool.
Ooh.
And as an aside, having DM'd myself several times before, I can tell you that that little technique is great because your player base can't randomly surprise you with a
Right.
I've got plans
With a
to do
pivot.
this, and they're like, well, we're going over here today.
Yeah.
Because all of that's done in the RP online
We
during
would never.
the week through our Facebook group.
Shit.
And about the time that, as AJ said, about the time that everything's kind of cemented and it's like, all right, it's time to throw dice, the DM just says, and we will stop there and resume at the
Go.
table.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a great technique. I highly
Hold that
recommend
thought.
it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this was good too because in a way, I guess as a DM, there were a lot of tree branches here where you could go. And instead of trying to really railroad you into one, all 6 of you basically had, I think by five of the 6 really kind of dove into it and came up with something. And that way you guys were able to choose kind of what to do next. And one of the
NPCs too. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to meet some NPCs, do some things, get some clues. So you were able to kind of get a lot of little evidence that you guys were collecting because you're still dealing with the Red Dragon Stout Brewery, trying to find it. Where's that coming from? Who's all involved? And then there were just a couple others that were some, I'm not going to say total red herrings, but there were some sides that let you introduce, like Von Mers let him get to know Torben Gray, who kind of becomes more of an important NPC later.
Yeah.
So
This
establishes,
episode in particular allowed me to really get into some of my, with what I found in my little personal adventure. It allowed me to start working politics.
Yeah.
Which ended up being a huge thing for my character for the whole rest of the entire campaign.
Right.
Because I found stuff that had been stolen from city council members, and so they were being blackmailed basically to work against Von Mer.
Yeah.
And it that helped us tremendously working to lift some of that influence from Jabon later.
It
Give me
did.
some push.
Yep. So, and then, but the one of the big ones, I guess the one that glued on everybody was episode 10, the Ghost Tower of Inverness. So this is an old module, and this one I pretty much ran like the old famous Ghost Tower of Inverness.
Yeah, the disappearing tower.
With the puzzles.
Oh God, we suck at puzzles.
Yep.
We are so great at puzzles.
We suck at
By great, I think we suck. Yeah.
Oh,
If I found an Achilles heel in this
We're
group,
so bad. We're so
it
bad.
was puzzles. This group's
The
Achilles
riddles.
heel was definitely puzzles. It's like, yeah, just put them on a chessboard and see what they do. And then
Oh,
zap,
Lordy.
zap, zap. Who was the king? I forgot who got the king and only moved one square at a time. Was it Wilhelm?
Oh, no, who was that?
Yeah.
That was,
I think
that
it was
Bonner,
Wilhelm.
right?
He
Oh,
he came
Wilhelm.
out as the king,
Yeah.
and he was so scared to move because everybody was getting zapped. He would only walk one square at a time. But because he was the king,
But he was perfect. It was
that's how the
That was
king
exactly
moves,
what he
and so he
did.
never got zapped. So it was kind of
Oh,
funny.
We just could not figure
Did
that
not
out.
like the
in our
chessboard.
lives. It was terrible. Now,
It was pretty
this
cool.
I did like. I had a great moment in this episode because, and you can see it on the screen there. We had the room with the fire giant, and the big, walkways all the way around, and everything was fire that wasn't depicted.
Oh yeah.
And so the fire giant's throwing rocks at us, and so Kel just like runs up, and I'm carrying a magic halberd at the time. I just like dashed for 2 turns, and the last turn I managed to get right in front of him, and I was like, and I just post up and look at him and be like, right, let's go, trade blows. And the fire giant looked down at me. I was like, all right, I can respect this. Let's dance.
It was ballsy, very
It did not just
ballsy.
get up there though. It took
Yeah, but
some
sometimes
rocks
you
and
got to
shit.
do
Yeah.
that.
Uh,
Yeah,
but-
Of course,
good move.
I had the trump card up my sleeve because that halberd had the ability to cast blur once a week.
That's
yeah,
what
right,
kept
yeah.
you living.
Blurb,
Surprise!
blurb.
So this is where you found the soul gem at the very end.
Ah,
Oh.
yeah.
And this is where the wolf Vale lost his life because it got sucked by the soul gem.
Sucked in, yeah.
Um,
Dry as wolf.
Right. So they got this
Sacrifice.
gem. Yeah, you got the gem and you got out, and of course then you're ambushed. But here Marcus and
Okay.
Tavin come to your rescue, and so they
Thank
help even the
goodness.
odds. Now keep in mind, for anybody watching, and these aren't high-level NPCs coming to the rescue. Actually, both of these NPCs are both lower level than the party, but they provided enough firepower
You
and
need the extra hands, yeah.
and random extra hands to balance out the fight, so that the party wasn't overwhelmed. It turned it into more evenly matched.
Yes. Our sorceress's plaything and and my little brother did come to the
A
rescue.
rogue's plaything, yeah.
So, but then you learned the downside of the soul gem. Well, not quite actually. You didn't quite learn the downside of the soul gem yet. You were in the next episode. You started to learn the downside of the soul gem. Episode 9, Heart of the Enemy. So this is going after Jaban himself, and this is where you found the brewery. You guys now had the evidence. You had the device that Jaban was looking for. He was looking for this soul gem. And this is where you took the fight to Tindleton, or underneath Tindleton, in the underground temples, or that were constructed there, and the demon himself.
Yep.
So
I
this,
actually found a
older one.
portal that went directly to the plains of hell, and I stepped through it.
Ah.
Yeah.
yeah, there's the
Yeah.
It
portal
was
right there.
great.
I remember that
So
now.
we went. Kel goes through the portal, and AJ pulls me outside, and it's like, all right, we gotta go away from the party for a minute. So he pulls
Yeah,
me
we
outside
didn't
the room.
follow.
Yeah, nobody else followed me, and AJ is like, you see before you a broken plane of obsidian glass. Fire is everywhere. It's ridiculously hot. It's a terrible place. And I go, just stop right there. Nope. And I turn around and go back to the portal.
Like, so how was it? Like, you don't want to know. No, not gonna say nothing. Yeah.
I'm like,
Don't go
no.
near there.
Break this thing, please.
Right. So this one, I think in this one you learned the connection between how the Delmars were making other nobles, and this is where you found out that the Delmar son Trevor was the one that kind of helped facilitate all of this, right? So you didn't have any direct proof on the Count, but you did on his son.
Kind of like Kale making new nobles too. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was also kind of pivotal, I guess, in the whole campaign. This was kind of shots fired.
I got left.
We'll get into that later.
This was kind of pivotal in the whole campaign because at the end of this, you had the noble showdown on the grounds of Delmar Keep, where you managed to, show the proof, Lady Raven Avantgarde, since there was going to be a wedding.
Fortunately, we had her show up with the lawgivers. Yeah, that helped a lot.
Well, because they were coming for the wedding, because Kel was going to marry Catherine, the emissary that had been in place. He had fallen in love with the emissary from Fellhammer, so Kel was going to marry her. So the invites had been out. So they were on their way to the wedding. So this all lined up. And as they're passing through Tindleton, lawgiver Solaris gives her the word. So she stops in while you guys are confronting them. And y'all have this noble council. Thanks
to ascending.
Yeah, thanks to ascending. Invoking the laws of de-escalation. She acts as an arbiter. But this is where you get the bounties removed from all of you. And the other trick was, because Caroline was part of it and the bounty on the Blue Dragon had been out there, she managed to get the bounty removed off of her.
Yeah, well played. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. And Sarenshire basically broke off from Tindleton's control and became its own independent
that's right. Yeah.
town.
Yeah. And this is how Sarenshire gained its own independence, because it was actually closer to Velspar than it was to Tindleton, even though the river separates it. And by
the politics in the valley.
Yep. Politics in the valley. Again, by having the overseeing lord of Velspar and the overseeing lord of Avantgarde vouching for their independence. And basically, now that they had just kind of proven that the count's son had made all these pacts with fiends and whatnot, you managed to get Sarenshire its independence. This is also kind of pivotal when Windharrow found out that fiends were involved. That's when Windharrow was like, hey, I ain't playing this game. And so that was kind of a little thing that happened during this adventure.
Even mercenaries have morals, loose though they may be.
Yeah. Even though he was a mercenary,
still not sure I like him.
he drew the line at dealing with fiends. So when he dropped his sword, it's like once Jabban revealed himself as a fiend, he was like, hey, I ain't into that.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't play this game.
And so he ejected. So that kind of concluded our second book. And then you had the wedding. And then things were starting to happen when people died in Velspar.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when the soul gem, you kind of learned that the whole idea of the soul gem is to grab souls whenever they die so that they, they're stuck in limbo or collected into this gem. Can't be resurrected. They don't pass into the afterlife. And so you guys had this gem in Velspar that was collecting souls.
Yeah. We had to get it out of there.
Well also,
we ain't having
what happens when you break it?
Oh, yeah. And when you break it, all the souls come out and kill everybody in a 10-mile radius.
Right, right.
So it's a giant bomb.
Well, we couldn't destroy it, or it would come kill all of us, too.
Which you had assumed it was strongly suggested that was the Jabban's end game was to take the soul gem, place it in a city, and then break it, so that everybody basically would be dead. So you had the weapon of the enemy, but unfortunately it was harming your own people. So this was an adventure where I kind of put together what happens if a party has to bury treasure? You got to get rid of something. Instead of find something, you got to get rid of something.
And then we learned a very important piece: you got to remain in motion, right?
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, remember? We're like, how the hell do we do that? We try to can we put it on a string and have it moving around? No, it's going to come to a stop.
We thought about putting it in a clock.
How in the hell do we make it stay in motion? Yeah.
Right.
Because basically if the gem settles, meaning it stops motion, then that's where it starts to become activated, right? So they had to keep moving, right? And they needed to put it in a place where it would always be moving. So I think you guys found that there was something ancient in the Thornwoods. So this was your first venture into the Thornwoods.
Oh, I hated the Thornwoods.
This was another first for the entire valley, because when we were talking to people about going there, everybody's like,
nobody goes there.
Nobody goes there ever.
Yeah. So
Had
lots of thorns.
In my beard, it was horrible.
And there's
What?
some
I
rumors
had
that
thorns in my
had
beard,
passed
and it was
about the
horrible.
Thornwoods too.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the rocks that would move around, like a giant would
yeah.
move
Oh,
all the
yeah.
boulders around and things
We
like
found
that.
out those ended up
Right.
being earth elementals,
Yeah.
Right. I remember that.
which we were able to talk to.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
They were actually really cool.
Yep. Yep.
They're really down to earth.
So this also had the story of the Rogue and the Ranger involved, which is basically what we're leading you. That was the kind of the hint. It was all started with the story of the Ranger and the Rogue. So you had come across this legend of the Ranger and the Rogue, and that's why you were following their footsteps to find a place, looking for an ancient being that was always in motion. And so you ended up basically finding what you didn't really know at the time, is a high priest. It's an intelligent ooze, which is of Juiblix, which is the ooze god. But if you come bearing an offering, it's bad things can be negotiated with. It's intelligent. And it seemed to be like, well, if you're going to give me this really big thing, it's like, I'll take it. And this is also where you found Shadow Strike.
Yep.
Shadow Strike.
Legendary dagger.
Yep.
Dagger of Thieves.
This is also where you saw your first disintegrate
Burgess
spell too.
I might add.
Yeah.
This is also the very
First
first
weapon.
disintegrate spell that almost shot Braylon.
Oh yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
That was good. It was like, whew, good thing it shot it at the
What did-
rogue who could
Yeah,
dodge.
no shit. Yeah. The dwarf would not be
And
sitting
what
here.
did
if I
Shadow
shot at
Strike
him.
do?
Oh crap! I done forgot.
Was
now.
it was +3 and let you teleport?
Well, I had
Misty
certain
Step.
abilities. I think I had like 4 different abilities. I could Misty Step. I could
That's
go
it.
invisible. I could see invisible, and there was one other.
She can't look it up because it's gone now. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but each of them took like so many charges, and I think I had 8 or 10 charges a day. But I did
Yeah.
some pretty decent damage with it, even when I didn't use its abilities.
Yeah.
It was
Yep.
pretty cool, yeah.
So
It
I
was
think
like
this was
+3.
probably the strongest weapon at the time once it kind of came into being. I think it was only
Yeah, it
+2
was pretty
though. I
cool.
don't think it was +3. It was just +2.
I think
But
you're
it
right.
still had it was
You're
the
right.
first intelligent weapon that you had really come across.
Right.
Even though this one conveyed emotion and didn't
Right,
speak.
didn't talk.
Yeah,
didn't-
right.
the other ability it did, I think it gave you a plus on your initiative. That's what it did. So then you went
Right.
after you left the Thornwoods, you traveled back north
Damn,
and
that
you
was
made
right.
it to Glissondale to kind of rest. First time the party was in Glissondale. And this is where you were approached by one of the Avowed. And so for anybody who's watching, this is instead of using I call it Candlelight Library instead of Candlekeep. This is basically where Candlelight Library is, and the dwarf that walked in was basically like, there's some adventurers in town. It's like maybe they can help me, and he comes in and he drops a book in front of them in their inn, and he dies,
And dice.
and then he dies.
Dead.
And this
Here
is
you
where I
go.
learned
Good
to
luck.
speak with dead before you resurrect somebody.
Yeah, so this was a module that's pretty much run out of the Candlekeep Libraries module. Instead of Candlekeep Deconstruction, or it was a Candlelight Deconstruction. But this is where this one's kind of pivotal because this really brings the Dragon Slayers into contact with the Earth Cult. And the Earth Cult played a bigger factor with the Saren Defenders. So this is about the time you guys at this point, I guess you could talk about this a little bit. There was another group that was playing now. So you've probably gone through about 2 or 3 modules knowing that there's another group of players, that I'm DMing in the same world called the Saren Defenders. So what did y'all think of that?
That was really neat because we start hearing for us, like, we as players know that there are other groups out there, but our PCs are starting to hear rumors
Right.
of other adventuring
people.
groups. And,
Well, and
in this world, adventuring groups don't like. We're basically the first one that's been put together in any memory.
Right.
and the world's
So
dynamic.
adventuring
So
hasn't been a thing in the valley, and so now we're like one of the only adventuring groups out there. And then this is where we start hearing tales or rumors of there's another
Other
adventuring
people like
group,
us.
a third adventuring group.
Yeah.
So,
and the valley's reactive, right? I mean, it's very dynamic. So if they do something, it impacts us,
It
and if we
affects
do
us.
something, it impacts them. So it's
Right.
really cool the way it all kind of intertwined.
That was cool.
yep.
So in this book, the central was more centered around the Saren Defenders. They had the bigger stake in this game, but this is the point where you kind of come across their storyline, right? So you discover that Stonky is trying to basically, he's been told to gather resources and items of power and things like this, and since this guy's crazy, he thinks his best idea is to launch this tower into space, which of course isn't going to work.
I'm like,
Of course, it's not going to work, but he's
It was a
crazy.
rocket.
Yeah, the thing would only flown a couple of miles and then crashed to the ground. But that's what he was doing. He was trying to preserve information. But you guys, this whole next section, I guess as a DM, Future Dawn, which I kind of called Book 3, was about you guys collecting items of power to build your power level because big things were coming, right? So from Whence It Came kind of starts it off with Shadow Strike. It's like all of a sudden there's this big weapon. It's like, so my whole idea for Book 3 was it was all around collecting of power because the Cult of the Black Earth is rushing to collect these items of power. So from a good guy standpoint, I was figuring it's like, well, we can't let the bad guys have it, so we gotta have it.
and we appreciate that, by the way.
So you guys, you deal with this little craziness that goes on. You're kind of introduced to the Black Earth cult, and then you immediately get on this path and to episode 14 now, The Journey South, where you head towards Solomir. And this is basically going to, I think this is basically a journey adventure. I think this whole adventure was really about the journey. Because the White Plume Mountain becomes the next adventure, right? So this is the one where you're traveling. You find the Earth cultists who ride the boulettes, and they jump up, and they're looking for Treant Tremblewind.
So there was a good tie-in too. Yeah.
And,
so that was good. Then we also ran into just a random group of bandits on the road, and they were like, "Oh, noble, easy prey." I was like, "Oh, boys, you're about to learn."
Yeah.
Noble's gonna teach.
They got run over hard.
Noble's gonna noble, yo.
A couple of them took them to Solomir and turned them into the sheriff, and the the jail's just full of their buddies, and they're like, "Oh, hey guys, what up? This, that, and everything," and they get put in there like, "No, dude, these guys wrecked us hard."
Yep. So I mean, as a DM, I use random encounter tables, and then I have an adjustment roll that I'll make to see is this encounter easy, medium, hard, trivial. Sometimes they're trivial, and that's fine. It's like, it won't take very long to run. That's the good news. And the heroes kind of get to stomp on something. And, when you're traveling, it's like you might only have one encounter a day. So, you just let the fireballs fly or whatever. And you wreck the bandits. I think that whole thing was over and around, or maybe 2
Yeah,
hours.
it didn't last long.
Yeah, it was fast. So this is where you made it to the cave entrance of White Plume Mountain. So you guys had visited Solomir, and you made it to the cave entrance. And when you got there, there's the Black Earth cultists that were encamped in front of it. So you kind of wiped them out, and then the next adventure is the White Plumed Mountain. This is once again is a kind of a very classic adventure. Yeah. This was a classic adventure, and I think this one actually took us. This was one of the few that took us 2 months, 2 sessions to get through.
Yeah, it took a while. 2 sessions.
Yeah, 4 entire days to play.
I'm like, I don't want to stop. No.
It's such a classic module, and when I knew that most of y'all had not played this, I was like, oh, I got to use this because I just really adapted it for 5e because it is such a classic D&D module. If you've never played White Plume Mountain. But I changed a few things up, especially the magic items. They needed to fit in the world. And I had also kind of advanced this in time. So, the legendary wizard as you come to find out later, due to the catastrophe and everything, a lot of things had changed, more aged. So this is, let's see, a couple pictures. I got the ziggurat picture there, the
There
heated
it is.
tunnle.
Oh God, I hated
Oh,
that.
I hated it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes, that sucked.
So
You had to run through the tunnel,
yep, without
dragging
metal.
all your metal armor,
Yep, dragging it behind you.
trying not to die. It was a
Course-
microwave. It
Of course,
was a
the monk and the
tube
sorceress are just flying back and
microwave.
forth like, what's the problem?
Yeah, like, what's the problem, guys? Come on, it's fine.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting there with like all my gear wrapped in rope, like trudging along, and I barely get to the end, and the rope
then you get
catches
attacked.
fire.
Well,
Yeah,
and you got attacked on the other
It's like,
side too, right? With no
Because if you
armor.
were wearing armor, I think it's if you're wearing some sort of a metal or not, you're basically baking inside of
You're
it.
cooking, yeah.
So you had to take it off.
Fire damage,
Yeah, the further you went down that hall, the more dice damage it does because the heat just gets so crazy. So that was White Plume Mountain. So that was kind of a very,
Fun.
very classic module. But this is where you found Delve
Delve.
Delve and Whitewater.
and
Whitewater.
Whitewater.
The dwarf became Thor. Had a hammer I could throw.
Yeah.
And then this one also introduced you to the story. This started to take you down the path of the catastrophe legend, right? So I think another thing to mention is at this point, you guys had probably had, I think two or three interactions with the old man. Two.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and actually, you guys, it's kind of interesting. I have all three players here were the characters that had the old man interactions. So, and it's because you were noble and a fighter. So that was like two. Rogue, that was the other one, and cleric. So those were the four aspects that the old man would interact with.
Yep. And I got so close to figuring out who he was.
You got
you-
close. I remember
close.
talking about it. I had no clue. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I just thought it was a cool.
I didn't
I,
know
guy
I
you
could
remember
visit.
how he came and
Yeah.
visited me in the keep in the middle of the night, and I had the conversation, and it was like, all right, that from this point forward, I'm not coming to see you anymore. You're gonna have to find me, and then disappears, and I'm sitting there going, have a good night, Lord Shard.
Very close.
That's who it was.
Very close. Yeah. So the NPC would visit them, taking an interest in their career. In a way, it didn't really guide you or anything, but in a way, maybe tiny hints about
Yeah.
either morality or adventure, being wary of things, that kind of a
It
thing.
was a nice add-on. It was a little something extra. In the middle of the night, you are approached by some old guy out of the middle of nowhere. I thought it was
Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
I didn't
Not
know who
creepy
it
at
was.
all.
Two things at once.
Not creepy at all.
Well,
Not
and he
creepy at all.
pushed
I
my
don't know.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really pushed my character to because I was not only adventuring, but I was also the noble representative on the town council, and he's like, "You're having to split your time, and it's kind of sucking for you." And I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "You should
Can't
probably
focus
do
on two
something
things at
about
once.
that." So
Yep.
after I
I
got
got the same
married, now
speech.
I had my wife, who was a noble, Catherine, and so I gave her the seat on the council so that I could adventure full time, and
Yep.
it made a world of difference in how much time I had and downtime and everything else.
Yeah, and Von Margaret was saying a speech about the church. I think that's when I picked up an acolyte.
Yep. That's when you pick
Yeah.
up an acolyte. And it's like hard to serve two masters.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I couldn't
Yep.
think of the phrase. Yeah.
It's hard to serve
I
two
only
masters.
serve one master, my wife.
So
Learned
this
that. That's very wise, my friend. Very wise.
this also at the end of the White Plume Mountain, this is where you found where Soulfire would have been, and you heard the legend of Lancer. And then Kel gets the nightmares. He starts getting the nightmares, which leads us to episode 16, the last
Well, no,
night.
you got to stop, man, because that episode we thought we were going to find all of them there, and the episode stops, and Kyle's like, but where's my news, man?
Yeah, everybody's got
The hills.
Where's
Oh, you
my
guys-
man?
legendary weapon that's sentient in Delve, which was a rework of the hammer that you find in White Plume Mountain.
Mhm.
And then our ranger got Whitewater, which was a rework of the trident that you find in White
Right,
Mountain.
yeah.
And so these guys both get these.
You know, there's
awesome
supposed to be a third
sentient-
one, man. There's supposed to be a third one.
And then we get to the end, and where the third one's at, and it's like, oh, it's a sword hilt, but it's
Denied. Denied.
An
Not today, sir.
and
Much
the box
disappointment.
department all
Much
it says is
disappointment.
Lancer was here.
Yep, Lancer was
Like-
here. So, if my
He picked
friend
up the spelling
Travis
card.
ever watches this, you know this was perfectly in his character.
Lancer was here.
Or if my buddy Kaboth ever watches this, he knows this was perfectly in Lancer's character. Lancer was here. All right. So White Plume Mountain ended, and we go to the last light. So the last light, the nightmares start to. There's a lot of RP in this one, for Kel's nightmares, because first you had to go to Avangard. You had to learn the visions changed as he discovered things. So first he had to find, there was something about Avangard in the art gallery that he needed to see. And there was the statue of Lancer there. And when he touched it, then that's when he started to see the Dark Forest. And so he starts to learn a little bit, and I think this is the episode where you're in Avangard and you meet the High Lady and the catastrophe is revealed.
Yep.
So what did y'all think about the world plot? You learned about Shard, you learned about Selenia, you learned about what had happened.
Mm-hmm. And come to find out, the old man that had been visiting us wasn't Lord Shard. It was the Silver Dragon, his counterpart, Lady Celeste, playing Lord Shard.
Yeah.
Right.
Bonded mate. That's what we call it.
Bonded,
There you go,
okay, that's
bonded
good.
mate, all right.
It was
And
interesting.
that was especially crazy for Kel, because Kel is a worshiper of Bahamut, basically the metallic dragon god. And so he gets to meet an ancient silver dragon, and this
Silver
was like,
dragon,
oh.
we learned the history of the world basically, and I think it kind of brought in a whole nother depth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Bomber's like, so when's this thing going to reset again? Is it going to be like tomorrow, next month, a year? How long do we have?
Vonmer, the pessimist, he's like, so this is happening again, right?
I'm going to get drunk. All right, I'll be back.
That's so Vonmer. Holy cow.
Yeah.
It didn't say it was an every 1,000-year event. It happened 1,000
How long
years
has it
ago.
been? How long has it been?
We're reset. Right. We're reset.
Anybody got a countdown thing going?
You'll be
So-
dead. Don't worry about it.
Wise and incredibly politically incorrect.
So you had to move to the Dark Forest. This was once again a first. So first adventuring group to enter the Dark Forest, which was like ambush hell. I mean, because when you look back on it, you only really traveled like a mile or two into the Dark Forest out of everything that y'all dealt with. So you didn't really go very far.
Oh, and it was dark in there, and there were all kinds of ridiculous high-level stuff in there that we had to fight.
So I think every encounter you fought in here was hard, and then one was deadly.
Yeah, felt like it.
So this was
Yeah,
definitely,
felt like it.
and it was fast too, because it was frequent. So
Just
to
pop out of
me,
nowhere, man.
as a DM, it's kind of my myth Draenor, if you will. This is, hard, deadly, compact, difficult beings that are in there, and creatures, right? Plant creatures, strange creatures like the Nagpa, which is nasty. That is a nasty, nasty creature. I think that was the deadly encounter.
I think our first encounter was 2 treants.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was like, and that was
We
the
got-
easy
we got what?
encounter.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
the
that
easy one.
was the easy one.
That's how
Yeah,
we
that was the
started,
easy
yeah.
one, right? So that, however, lets you find Soulfire. Once you found Soulfire,
Oh yeah.
so you found Soulfire.
Soulfire was it is great. It was a legendary level sentient sunblade, which was right up my alley. Like, and it would permanently kill fiends and undead if I got the killing blow on them.
Yeah, that was badass. Yeah.
Like,
Yep. So they
Oh,
can't come back,
Take 'em
right?
out.
So the items of power had been found. So the 3 legendary weapons, 4 in total, had been gained. And so that kind of concluded book 3, which takes us into our final book, The Chromatic Chronicles.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know, right? Very ominous. And that started with the fall of the festival.
Oh, Lordy.
Oh, Lordy.
Oh, Lordy. Lordy,
It's
Lordy.
dry.
We've
Dragons.
officially been playing these characters in world for just over a year.
Right, yeah.
Because we're back to the fall festival, which was going on when we had
When
episode
we started,
2.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, good call out, yeah.
Yeah,
This was
a year
a
game
cycle.
time. Year game time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is so I prepped everything here for, it's going to be, a nice festival. It's like it was funny watching all 3 parties get excited. All 3 parties are starting to plan. Here's what I want to do on this day. I'm booking this room. And I'm going to be doing,
Yeah,
I want to do a
same,
sermon
yeah.
on the mound. I'm going to do
Oh,
all
yeah.
of
We
this.
dropped some coin at this
Oh
festival.
shit,
Yep.
man. I want to have a balcony overlooking
Woo.
everything, yeah.
You got the other ones that still think magic shops exist. They're like, I'm going shopping.
I'll go shopping.
I'm still like, dude, you're the highest level person in the valley and you
I know.
hoard shit.
There's
So
nobody else can make that for you.
nobody's selling you anything.
I was out there
Shit.
politicking hard at this festival.
Which-
I was
so-
schmoozing with all the visiting nobles from all over the valley. I think I dropped like $3,000 in gold in gifts
Yeah.
to other nobles, all that kind of stuff. Like I was really working it.
So AJ brought up a good point. It was kind of overreaching arc for the entire damn thing, right? So we were like, well, shit, we need to go talk to somebody and figure out how to do this stuff. AJ's like, no, you don't understand. You are the experts. You are the highest level people here. I'm like, well, shit, that sucks. Wait, that's never happened before. What are you talking about?
It's always funny.
Or
PCs
it.
are always like, I want to be the biggest and baddest in the entire land.
Okay.
Who can I go
Don't
ask
ask
for
for this.
advice? I'm like, but wait a minute. You're the
What-
biggest
what-
and baddest.
No, I don't like that.
So follow the festival. And what happens here? Festival gets attacked by a horde.
Of course.
3 hordes.
By 3 hordes.
3
And a
hordes.
dragon.
Right?
Let's not forget the
3
dragon.
back-to-back really big fights. And I guess if you look at, let's see, the second picture is a lot better because people are running everywhere. Where people used to be set up everywhere, now everybody's dying. A lot of NPCs I had out on the table. So as soon as a bad monster got to them, we took a swung, and there was militia that were there fighting back too.
I remember now.
And there were
One
3
guy-
dragons that you didn't really fight the 3 dragons. They were really just kind of circle strafing.
In the vicinity.
Yeah, they were just flying, and there was always a chance, and I always had the players roll a percentile dice, and I think it was like 15%. And if you rolled,
But
somebody
they would
rolled
attack?
under
We rolled
15%.
every single freaking one.
Yeah, I think you guys were the only ones that basically encountered every single dragon.
I'm not going to roll again, man. I'm not
We
going
had,
to
to
roll
deal
again.
with, we had to deal with a strafing run from an adult white, a strafing run from an adult green, and then a strafing run from an adult red.
And all 3 roars too. All 3 fear
Yes.
roars, right? Because there was a
Yep,
chance
yep.
it came in and it roared, or it came in and it strafed. And I
And
think
in
you
this
guys
battle-
hit every single one.
And in this battle, there's one militia that survived the entire thing with us. One
Yep,
poor
yep.
solely militia.
Yep.
And at the end of it, Kel basically told him to kneel on the field and knighted him and made him the second, put him into the second tier noble category.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
More
Well,
on that
you're-
later.
More on that
That is
later.
my
yeah.
second. He is my second age character.
Yeah, that is the character Kyle is going to play in the second age.
That's kind of funny.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool.
So the after the battle was over, and this was one where I had to run the scenario 3 times, once for each group. So then now at this point, there's a 3rd group that's been involved in kind of all this mess too for a while now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And
Hellhammer 5.
and because of all the concerted efforts in the last book, like you guys gained the items of power, the Black Earth cult didn't gain the items of power. So the Saren defenders were able to take out the leader of the Black Earth cult and kind of stop their quest for domination. So that page had kind of turned at this point. Then, unbeknownst to you, just before the fall festival, the very last adventure that the Fellhammer 5 went on, where they came across this, they were lured into an area outside of Solomir, where they came across this green crystal, and in the trap, everything that they were dealing with was telling them if they crushed they would come across these goblins or these kobolds, and these kobolds will attack them. And when they kill the kobolds, there's this little green flame, a little fire, like in a campfire. You'd see their spirit fly back to the fire, and then it would walk out again and start attacking them. Well, what they didn't know is they were fighting illusions for the most part. Once the original one died, the rest was kind of illusions. But when they run to the green fire and they put it out, all the kobolds that had come back would just vanish. They'd die. So this happened to them like 3 times. And so they became conditioned to green crystal, green fire, put it out, everything's good. So then they fall into, they backtrack where these kobolds are coming from, and there's this cave, and they go in the cave and there's a green crystal. Well, things start to die. Flies to the crystal. So the ranger goes right up to the crystal, just as planned, and smashes it. At which point, the green dragon is released from the crystal, and so basically he roars. They all poop bricks.
They did it.
They did.
And Cortash is released, and he flies off. So what happens is, Cortash flies to Darnath, and he frees Darnath. He tells Darnath to go free Agramar and Igriestor while he goes to free Mogili. So the crystals can be crushed by Dragonkin, or they can be crushed by a certain condition. And in this case, Cortash's was a humanoid of good alignment. Right, so the good, neutral good ranger who shattered the crystal. That's why kobolds couldn't just walk up and smash it, because they're not humanoids and they're not of good alignment. And that's why the priest who was there couldn't smash it. He's not of good alignment.
And you did that condition on purpose too, didn't you?
On purpose.
On purpose.
So the dragon so the 2 dragons quickly release all the other dragons, is what happens. And then 3 of them are just really upset, right? So Agramar, Igriestor, and Mogili are like, yeah, we're going to jack up the festival because we have followers. Their followers were the closest and probably the strongest. You had the orcs, you had the kobolds, and you had the gnolls. So that is what had happened in the background, right? So then the fall festival happens. And so after the festival fight, this was one where all 3 groups are at the table. And I think this is one where we kind of had some talking between the groups about who wanted to go after what. Because because winter's coming, and we know winter's going to be bad, and people needed somebody to strike back,
Right.
Wow. It was a massacre.
It was.
There were like 20-something named NPCs that died, and there were like several. Like what was it, like 100 and something?
Solaris,
just random people at the festival that all
Yep.
died.
Yep.
Although we did ride hard after the fact, and we caught one of the caravans that were leaving after the disaster, and we caught Lawgiver Solaris, who had died.
Yeah.
And I paid for the gemstone, and Bomber cast Raised Dead. What was it, Raised Dead?
Yep.
Yeah, but
cast Raised Dead. And we raised one of the Lawgivers back to life, and we were like, listen, we can't do this for everybody, but that guy's important.
Right.
You paid for the gem. Then when you realized you didn't get renowned for it, it's like, so you're going to pay me back for that?
I most certainly did not. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability, yeah.
So after that, this party, which was kind of funny, I guess to me, I did not figure this party was going to go for the Caves of Chaos. I really didn't. I thought this party was all about the Red Dragon, but the Saren Defenders were so... There was a clue for the Saren Defenders because they were chasing elemental weapons at this point. And the orcs had a crest, which had one of the weapons they were looking for. So they were very gung-ho to go after.
We didn't even get the option to go after the Red Dragon. We're like, all right, we need to go after these things. And then one of the NPCs is like, well, the other group's already taken off and gone after the Red. And we're like,
okay.
So they were gung-ho, which was fine because, I had it kind of planned out. I was wanting to see because this was the only group that had a dragon at the end of the quest. Had any of the other groups run this one, they would have run into Cortash as well. The other 2 didn't have a dragon at the end. So this was kind of a little, I don't want to call it a red herring, but more of a bait and switch. It's like, yeah, this one has the kobolds and this one's close. Right? A lot of people are like, well, that's where the lowest level group should go. But the lowest level group, they wanted to go, or actually, you guys chose second. So you guys chose the Caves of Chaos. And
I don't remember why we chose that, but yeah.
I forget why you chose
They
it.
were just picking one out of a hat. Like, okay, that sounds good.
I think it was because like the whole time while these things were strafing, Kel was yelling, was berating them in Draconic, and Cortosh was the only one that ever said anything back.
Maybe I gotta go back and look at the chats. I know he chatted a lot about it.
So so you guys chose the Caves of Chaos, which left Fellhammer 5 with the Knoll Warrens.
And so what we chose was the only one that had a dragon at the end of it. You said, right?
This was
well, of course, it was fate.
which was ironic. I was like, this was one where I truly had the modules set. I could adjust the power levels a little bit, but I knew out of the next 3, one for each group, this one was the only one that had the dragon sitting at the end. And so you guys were the first ones at the end of this one, and I started to get a little scanty on picks here, but there's Cortosh, and
yeah, there he is.
Yep.
And this is the one that had Cortosh at the end, where you guys first adult dragon,
freaking layer actions,
and layer actions. You were introduced to layer actions.
Layer gets its own action.
Holy crap!
Yeah, not just legendary, but layer actions when they're in their own layer. So, and those are pretty rough. So this was, so once again, this dragon did escape.
Again. Little crack in the back of the cave.
You can squeeze.
Yeah.
So then this led to episode 19, the Dread of Winter, right? So you guys had struck back. You did manage to drive him off, which was great, right? So that was a victory. The other groups drove him off. And then this episode 19 was pretty much the same for all the groups. I think this is, I don't have too many more pictures, right? So episode 19 was, you stumble across what appears to be a string of robberies in town, and the food is being pilfered.
Yes.
So this introduced the Hand, the bad guy, the Hand, which is the Rogues Guild. That connection.
Evil rogue.
Yeah.
So we usually suck about putting things together, but we actually jumped on it pretty quick. That shit, let's go and stake out another potential hit place, right? Which was rare for us as a group.
This was one.
We're getting better.
Yeah, we're getting better.
This was one as a DM. You basically had 5 days to figure it out. At the end of the 5 days, your economy would have been wrecked. And if you want to know about that, you can go to Glissendale, where they figured it out on day 5. Fellhammer 5 took a while to figure it out. But
it took the whole 5 days?
Yeah, basically. They figured it out on the last day that you could do it, right? And so the way I was doing inflation is I had a chart. And you guys were wintering in Velspar, which was your home. Saren Defenders were in Fellhammer. And Fellhammer 5, I know it's weird, they were in Glissendale. So those two had basically like switched home bases. It's kind of where they chose to, basically hang out for the winter. And, so I took the other cities and I was like, okay, well, NPCs, what are they going to do? And kind of figured out, well, most of them are going to figure it out on day 2 or day 3 kind of a thing, depending on what NPCs were where. And except for like in Snowshore Harbor, where you steal from the pots and kettles and, well, they're going to hunt you down like a bitch real fast.
Out of hell, yeah.
Yeah. Plus the fact that that's the Hand's backyard, so they weren't going to steal a lot from there, which of course comes out later. That's where the Hand is. So I kind of had their inflation adjustments already, right? And then I was like, well, these 3 groups, whatever they do in their towns, I'll just have this overall inflation adjustment that happens through winter in order to put the stress on players, financially, because you're basically locking down for about 4 months, and costs go up and things get rare.
So did everybody pick up on that? Not only does the world dynamic, but the freaking economy is dynamic too, based on what the hell we do. Who the hell thinks of this stuff?
Some dude with too much time.
Yeah.
Money in, money out.
Yeah, right.
Between AJ and I think our average response times while doing RP between me and the Kel and the DM were like, there were some moments where like within a 10-minute spiel we'd progress with like 50 messages back and forth. Like response times were down into the seconds.
Yeah, sub-second.
Like random Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I should be, getting coffee or preparing for
Or
a
working,
meeting.
yeah.
And instead, I'm talking to AJ.
Bosses might be watching. You never know.
For another word. Oh yeah. We were working hard.
Working hard, very
during
hard,
that span,
very
yeah,
hard.
working hard,
Off
right.
hours.
Off hours. Thank you. Yeah. Lunch breaks.
So yeah, so this had the doppelgangers who were disguised as a little old lady that would rob the place, and then they would take it to a house where they had killed, a couple of people on the inside, and then kind of taken over the house as a staging point, and then they would ship it. They would take it to a warehouse that they had cleaned out, and then from there they would take it out of town to where some hobgoblins were, and the hobgoblins had a signal arrow if anything basically went foobar, which of course it did. And then so they fire their signal arrow to get the dragon to come in and run some cover with some of their little minions so that they could get things out of town and clear out. That was basically the whole plot.
We managed to track all of them. We managed to track all of this down, and they used our own damn militia against us because they had a
mind flare,
strange creature with tentacles.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes.
Wait, did we identify that?
I don't think so.
I don't think we did. I don't think we did.
I think we came close. But yeah, we had no idea what the hell that thing was.
We kept filling our roles.
Oh yeah. So we go out in the middle of nowhere and find these hobgoblins, and they throw a signal, and then we got to haul ass back to town because the green dragon attacks Velspar.
Yep.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yep.
I was hot after that one. I was pissed.
I think the big one in here, I guess for me as a DM, was waiting for the moment when y'all figured out that the horse knew the path.
That was just turn him loose, man. He knows the way to go.
Yeah,
with the food
Because the only way we found the hobgoblins was we just, the horse had done with the cart that was taking goods back and forth to the hobgoblins, had taken it across the path so many times. We're just like, and horse go.
Yeah,
the horse was like, all right, I'm going.
Basically, as soon as you open those barn doors, the horse would just start walking, and watching the PCs be like, I think only one group used like speak with animal, and horse isn't super intelligent. He's like, I take stuff to meat spot, and so they were like, follow the horse. But everybody else is like, you notice the horse comes out, instead of turning this way, he turns like right into the forest, and everybody's like, what? Like, follow the horse. It's like, so in a way, it's kind of like having.
We got in the cart.
Yeah, everybody just got in the cart.
I'm gonna ride through this shit.
I kind of got the idea from the Infinity War. It's like the rat saved Ant-Man just by accident. So here it's like the horse leads you to the next spot. You just have to just let the horse go. He knows where to go. He knows where the meeting point is.
This once or twice before,
yeah. So once that was done, you're still in winter. It's only November, and here's the second big winter trek. So
this time we got smart though.
Yeah, this time it was all game on. Well, you got smart to a point. You got smart to the trek, and then you made it to the hedge maze.
Oh yeah, we lost to the hedge maze, but water walk on the horse and us.
Yep.
And of course the sleigh skating on top of the snow. Yeah, we made good time.
Yes, actually, you were the fastest to the next destination due to the water walk, the sled. You guys at this point in time, you guys had your winter travel down pat.
Yeah,
so you didn't really have to deal with the exhaustions. Everything here was kind of clicking. Then you got to the labyrinth. And it all went to shit. Spent a whole day in the labyrinth to come out back at the entrance.
Back around. Yeah, we came back around to where we started. Like, okay, who's leading this group? Next, please.
Blind.
Yep.
Yeah, somebody else roll.
The blind leading the blind.
Oh, we also managed to once again stone the two rangers from the Gorgons. That was kind
of had to de-stone them.
I don't know what it is with rangers in this party that turned to stone. It just seems to be bad luck.
Yeah. We have some yard art now.
We did have the one orc that we encountered that ended up being
the orc was kind of cool. Yeah.
So we took him prisoner, and then all of a sudden we're attacked by all kinds of other things, and he ended up being a special type of orc commander, and he's sitting there tied to the sled, looking at everything. It's like, if these guys die, I'm going to too, and he starts giving us extra orders, letting us do extra stuff. It was great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dwarf attack. I'm like, what?
Job.
So this
Okay.
this one you dealt. So the hedge was regional effects of adults. So when adult dragons get to set up, they get their region effects. So that was the hedge maze. The maze.
Oh, the hedge maze. Yeah.
That's part of a green dragon's regional effect, right? So you had to deal with the regional effect. But this time, when you got into the mound, in the north part of the forest, and you fought Kortosh the second time, this time you were ready.
Kel had learned some new tricks.
Yes, Kel had learned a new trick.
So in between the fall festival and this adventure, I had leveled Kel and I took the Sentinel feat. So basically, I learned how to make dragons sit on command.
Yeah.
Is this where we use the bowl too with the?
No, that would be the next one.
It is next
No,
one.
that's
Right.
the Heroes Feast.
Red Dragon.
Foreshadowing. All right, never mind. That's the red dragon, right?
But yeah, so you managed to go through this one, take out Kortosh, which was the first of the chromatics.
Oh wait, this is where we forgot to take the antitoxin.
Yes.
We were all loaded down with antitoxin.
Let's
and
be
we forgot
fair.
to drink
You forgot to take the
Yeah, you
Well, I'm a
forgot.
dwarf, so it really didn't matter. It really
Yeah.
You
didn't matter. I was a
forgot.
dwarf
I
anyway,
did not
so.
forget.
Yeah,
All right.
I took my antitoxin.
All right. You weren't even
All the rest
there.
of them.
You
Round
left early,
one.
didn't you? Yeah.
Yep.
You weren't
Yeah,
even there
no,
for this one.
and this was
You
also
left.
where
No, he was
so,
here for this one. He missed the second part of the first
He
one.
missed
with
it.
the
All
King's
right,
Cast.
Yeah.
I get
'cause
foreshadowed.
I had an event that day.
Yeah.
But this is the one where Drya, one of our rangers, she had gotten a different cloak, magic cloak, and she had the cloak of the mountain back.
yes.
So she gave it to me, and I'm sitting there going, I got a great idea. So we encounter the green dragon, and the first thing that I do is I grab our other ranger who is dual wielding and running it as a tank,
Up
Wilhelm,
close fighter.
up close ranger, and I use the cape of the mountain back, and we teleport right behind Kortosh, and it's like, hi, swack.
No layer action impact. Yeah, just boom, we're on your ass now.
And at that point, now I'm in base to base. So when the dragon tries to reposition to breathe on us, I'm like, nope, sit.
Yeah. And I
That's
think your
sensible
guys were starting to learn a valuable lesson about fighting breath
Surround and
weapons.
pound.
The closer to a dragon you are, the less impact a breath weapon has. Because even as a cone, it starts with 1 square, then it goes to 2, then the 3. So if you're right next to it, it can only possibly hit one of you if everybody's close.
I think this is where Valmar was like locked down in vines, though. I couldn't do shit. They just cast heals and stuff. Yeah.
It still had layer actions.
That teleport ability for the Cape of the Mountain Back, that became our go-to technique for slaying dragons.
Yeah,
that worked out pretty well.
Yeah. So this was So 19 or episode 20 and 21 were kind of back to back, right? You had the journey there, and then through the hedge maze, and then 21 was the forest green. This was actually diving into the hobgoblin and bugbear lair.
Yes.
And this was all where our sleepy monk, found out what a great render was. Monks having and this is where our other ranger slayed one of the prisoners.
Drya was like, there's so many.
He was nailed to the wall.
Yeah, he really was nailed to the wall. Arrows too.
She was in fight fury, man. She was like, she was on.
She's just shooting everything.
She didn't pay to have you.
No, that's a couple of the beholders later.
Pay to have you resurrect them.
Yeah.
Yeah, this had the beholder in it.
Oh, this was a beholder.
Yeah.
All right. 21.
We thought it was like, what the hell? This can't be the big guy.
Yep. This is basically everybody's trying to. This was a little weird to me. It's like I figured you guys had kind of had the dragon strategy down, but the beholder, it's like so many people just stayed back so that you were in your in the anti-magic cone.
Get eye socketed.
Yeah, and they're just getting pulverized. The ones that weren't in the cone were getting picked off by the eye stalks, right? Except for Vonmer the resilient.
I shrugged it off, man. Not today, sir.
I think at the end you were the only one that wasn't charmed.
Yeah, it came down to it. It was pretty close.
High level guide bolt to his ass.
You didn't get charmed either.
No, there was 2 that didn't get charmed, but they were wounded, weak, controlled, telekinesis, all sorts of stuff.
Bomber the wise steps up and is like, I negate all of this.
Yeah. So you took out Kortosh.
Then we fought a dragon right after that.
Yeah, right. No shit.
took out Cortosh, and you made it back, and winter finally dissolves, and then that's when the Avangard kind of starts to get a plan, and that's when they're starting to communicate. It's like, hey, there's 2 more dragons to go because Darnath had been taken out by the Saren Defenders. Igriestor had been taken out by the Fellhammer 5. And there were 2 dragons to go. So there was Agramar, the red, which is the biggest, baddest dragon, and Mogili, the white. So since the Saren Defenders were already over in the northeast, they were going to continue on to Frostdale to go after the white dragon. And since you guys were in Velspar, you were closest to Fellhammer to take out the red dragon. And unbeknownst to both you 2 groups, the Fellhammer 5 had a mission to investigate some happenings in Tindleton from y'all's old pal Radicus. Radicus had overheard something, and he had overheard a threat to Avangard. So the Fellhammer 5 were going to go there to investigate because their faces weren't really known in Tindleton. Whereas the Dragon Slayers and the Saren Defenders were pretty well known in Tindleton, especially for not liked by Tindleton militia and that kind of thing.
Marquis Delmar absolutely hated me and Vonmer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so the Fellhammer 5 were going to infiltrate Tindleton to find out what that threat against Avangard was. So while they were doing that, you guys won the door prize of trying to track down what at this point would be the biggest critter in the valley to take on, Agramar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They came to us as like, you guys are the top tier group. You're the only ones that might survive this. Like, good luck. Say prayers.
It was kind of funny to watch all of you start to put your things in order at home. It's like, just in case I don't come home.
I wrote out a will, wrote a letter to my brother.
Wills and testaments are getting made.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. Everybody's hugging everybody goodbye.
This is about the time Kel started working with his wife on an heir.
Yeah.
You're right, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you threw that one in there.
Got to put a bun in that oven.
So you guys met with Fellhammer and their guys, and their militia was fully activated to clear a path so that you wouldn't really have to deal with, wading through the mountains. But they're taking a financial hit just because they're doing this in order to get you to the lair of Agramar hastily. So you made it. And here's where you fought Agramar, the red dragon. And this one, I mean, for fighting a red dragon, this is where you had the hero's feast. So fear was no longer an issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Helped tremendously. Of course,
That
1,300 GP for that inflation bowl.
It was also very expensive, by the way.
Yeah.
1,300 GP for that damn bowl with inflation.
But it was worth it. It was worth it.
Oh, yeah,
It was. Nobody was feared. You teleported like right onto him. Everybody came in really close, which really limited his breath weapon. The ones who were stand back, I think they had protection from fire.
It was a good fight.
Yeah. So this one, as funny as it was, even Red Dragon's lair actions, even though they are kind of brutal, a lot of them are fire and whatnot, but
fire and fear based, yeah.
Fire and fear based, and you guys, this probably was the pinnacle of your coordination.
Like, we were just rocking it. Like we smoked this red dragon about as well as anybody could be expected to.
He went down a lot quicker than I thought he was going to. I was very surprised. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it helped that our rogue here was popping out like 40 damage at 50 damage a go every time she would hit him.
I think she critted on him twice or something.
Yeah. And this is where Dryad picked up the mastermind rogue. So she was giving advantage like every single freaking round to somebody, which was a tremendous help.
A lot.
Yeah, when you can attack with advantage every single round.
Every round she could pick somebody to bestow upon them an advantage for your first attack.
Right.
Oh, she's within 30 feet of the dragon, yeah.
And
she was doing that, and then any time, because I knew Braylon's sneak attack was really where all good, probably half our damage from our group comes from.
Yeah.
So anytime that she'd miss, I'd use the commander's strike maneuver for the Battlemaster fighter and make her attack again on my turn.
Do it
Which
again.
helped.
Do it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, like I said, I think she
Just
crit
well.
twice in this
Sneak attack
battle,
every
which is
turn.
massive damage for a. I mean, at this point, you're what 12th level rogue, so yeah, that's a lot of sneak attack dice.
Lot of D6. Lot of D6.
So at the end of this, Agrimar goes down, and this is where you get the bad news about Avangard.
Yeah.
So Avangard had been attacked, and Lord Shard Avangard and Selenia Delanar had been killed. And this is where you've heard the words "aspect of Tiamat."
No pressure.
So what were you guys thinking before the big reveal on this one?
Before the
Well,
Tiamat
so-
or after you revealed
So
Tiamat?
before we had the council,
Okay.
right? You hear
Oh, we were
Avangard's been
done.
attacked, Shard's
Before
dead,
we had-
Selenia's
So
dead.
before we had the council, we hadn't. Well, I guess we did hear aspect of Tiamat when the things came, when word came out to us, because I
That's
remember
true, yeah.
Kel went to his library, and in my library one
Started
of
reading.
the one of the
I know what.
subjects.
I think you're right. I think the first part of the council is when you heard,
We heard about
Shard
it,
was
yeah.
dead, Selenia's dead, aspect of Tiamat, right? So at that point,
Yeah.
what were you guys thinking? Like, you're sitting in the council. Those are the council sessions that I recorded and then put online.
I really thought there was going to be a TPK.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
this
shit.
is how we're going to
That's
end.
it. We're done.
It's
Yeah.
just
Bye.
a character sheet. It's just a piece of paper. Oh well, I mean, I'm kind of attached to him, but damn, dude, come on, AJ, what the hell?
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
When ancient red and a level 20 character with bonus abilities and everything else in Lord Shard, basically the two most powerful things in the valley that are on the good side, and this thing wiped them both out.
Right,
So you're
yeah.
going,
Our
Yeah.
toes.
what the hell we got to do against it?
Well, to be fair, they killed it first.
They did
Yeah.
kill him.
They kill it first. It just it has a second thing. So then you heard the count. We had the online council session, right?
The
Yeah.
plan was cool. The plan was
plan.
cool.
So what'd y'all think about the
I
plan
had
and
to
basically how
watch it.
this whole thing was
I-
going to come to an end?
Yeah,
I
had to watch it
it
several
like
times too, Tiff.
6
Yeah.
times. I understand
We gotta do
what we're
what?
supposed to be doing. The timing was confusing, but
Well,
I mean,
and you pulled
we got
together
to it.
all three groups, which is badass, right? So all
Yeah,
three of your groups had to
all
play
three
a
player
piece.
groups are
Yeah.
sitting in this council meeting with all of these high-ranking NPCs.
Right.
And with an important key part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was badass.
Well, that was one of the ways I was like, there's no way any single group could take this thing on head up. No way. It's impossible.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I even rolled through it with Shard and Selenia, and I'm like, yeah, they can kill it, but when it comes back,
But it respawns.
yeah,
And
when it
how
comes
often
back,
can it
it's
do that?
like
Like
it's
once a
over.
day, once a week? How often can it do that respawn? The legendary
Per
respawn,
rest.
whatever the holy shit. All right.
Yeah.
But it's not a rest though. It's a
No, per
No,
long
it-
rest,
it-
it gets
it-
its ability back.
it
It's called
respawns
chromatic.
once per
I think it's
long
called
rest.
it
chromatic
respawns,
rebirth.
like it comes back to life. It's not like it
Yeah, it's called chromatic
saying?
rebirth, and it's an ability that it gets.
rebirth. That's the word I'm looking for. It didn't
Yeah.
it didn't just like respawn. It actually came back to life.
Right. So
Yeah.
so chromatic rebirth is a part of its being, right? And I'm not going to give too much away because we still have a final episode, but
Oh,
Oh, shit,
right.
you're
yeah.
right.
so
Right,
so,
right,
so
right.
chromatic rebirth is a part of its being. It's not even a legendary or mythic power. It's just what it does.
Right.
But when it happens, it gains mythic powers, right? So that's the kicker, is when it rebirths, it gets mythic powers. So those tack on after a chromatic rebirth. So I was like, as a DM, I'm like, okay, if we're going to make this culminate, we got to do something. So that's kind of where it's like I had this whole thing where, kind of, beknownst or unbeknownst to the players, Marquis Del Mar has been working behind the scenes this whole time, right? He's always kind of dodging the evidence a little bit. He's using his pawn, so nothing directly ties to him. But with something
knew
this
they were
big,
bad.
there's really no choice. He's got to get directly involved. So this is, how does he gain control? And at first it was, I was going one of two ways with this. If you guys had trouble with the chromatic dragons, then those would kind of be the peak and the culmination. But if you managed to take out the chromatic dragons, and they started dropping, pretty quick, which I figured they probably would once you guys kind of got the hang of it. Then this was his backup plan. It's like, well, there's only one way to have a backup plan, and if the 5 chromatics go down, they can summon the aspect of Tiamat, which can be called in order to do to rain chaos by an evil worshiper, a Tiamat worshiper, basically. And there's a chance that the Avatar shows up. But of course, Marquis Calvin Delmar, he's like, well, I just don't want to rain chaos. He's like, I want to rule. So what can we do? So that's when he starts working with the dragon cult to kind of figure out, okay, what can I do here to help? And they're like, well, there's this, and this. And it basically puts we can construct the Scepter of Discord. We can construct the Orb of Calling. We can construct the Orb of Bound Legends. So we have all these safety things. So it's like, in a way, at least the bad guys did something smart.
And which family was doing all that again? Which one was it?
Delmar.
Yeah, Bonmer and Eldor would be like, we were right all along from day one.
Yeah.
Hey, I put things in place to try and control them a little bit.
Well, yeah,
Like-
failed miserably, but yeah, he did. Yeah,
Like the son,
We're like,
the
got
son that was
worked,
dealing
got
with the
worked.
devils. The son that was dealing with the devils, if he would have done anything and been caught after the fact, there was no council, there was no jury, there was no nothing.
You got Game of
My
Thrones
character
down
got
that whole
sole
agreement.
discretion on what to do with him.
You got Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones.
It's a good thing Delmar has multiple children to spread the blame around.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
like, all
so I
right,
had
Trevor,
two of
you're
his
on the
three
you're on the
sons tied
bench.
into that.
Trevor's on the bench. It's like, you step up.
Yeah, you're next.
So,
Anywho, we digress.
so Face of Evil, the culmination for this group. This was the last adventure. Episode 23. Couldn't believe it'd been 23 episodes.
All right, time flies.
So what'd y'all think of this one? This is this is finally going in under Castle Delmar, fighting Delmar
This was
himself.
intense.
It
This
was
was some
intense.
intense shit going on.
Actually, in caves, but yeah.
Yeah, this
I
one
will-
this one's on the stream, so anybody who wants to watch this whole episode can actually watch this on the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Poker
almost
factor was
gave
high
you
on
There
this
was
one,
so
too.
much
the
writing
next
on this.
stage.
There was
Yep.
so much writing on this because the other groups can't do what they need to do unless we did what we needed to do first.
Yep.
Mhm.
So we were like,
cascade,
what if
it
we
all
fail?
snowballed.
Or it was tough.
All
Well,
you
and
had
then-
to
and
do
then we
was
got-
one thing. All you had to do was destroy the scepter. That was the one thing that had to
But
happen.
then the aspect came out and beat our ass. I mean, we had to deal with that.
So there were a lot of
we listened to the whole
variables.
plan. Yeah, we listened to the whole plan, and then we get some greedy
Either we
guys that
die
want
or
to
it dies.
like do it our own
No
way. but
pressure.
Just stick to the
No-
plan. Stick to the plan.
No pressure.
Anyway,
You die
sorry,
or he
go ahead.
dies. Hello. Or she.
There were a lot of
that
variables
was
on
in the
this one
speech.
that could have happened after the scepter's destroyed, and I was prepared to kind of roll with any of them, but even as a DM, wasn't entirely sure what you guys were going to do on this one when the scepter was destroyed. I knew as a DM the aspect was going to basically show up, and just since its control, it was now reverting to its pure chaotic evil nature. It was just going to be pissed off, and it was going to go after everything it saw, whoever it saw, until it was dead. It was just going
By
to
the
be.
way, I lost Shadow Strike destroying that scepter.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, we forgot to mention
So,
that. Yeah.
My fight with Tiamat was without my Shadow Strike, and that sucked
Yeah.
balls. But
Forgot about that.
You did pretty good with your crossbow.
Well, yeah,
I
as
did,
long
I
as you
did
hit,
okay.
as long as you hit, it really doesn't matter what weapon you use.
Yeah.
You get that thief attack
I
damage.
appreciate that. I
That's
did.
the big thing. That's the big.
And it
a
was
weapon,
worth it.
A weapon,
It was worth it.
a weapon
our
doesn't make
main-
you.
Our very main objective was to destroy the scepter, and you had to use a legendary weapon to do that.
Yep.
We didn't
so
know
it
it
couldn't just
absorbed
be-
the legendary weapon in it too. Yeah.
And somebody couldn't use your weapon because
You have to be
because you're
attuned.
to it. So you had to be the one to wield your own weapon to destroy the scepter. So it just worked out that it was me, and I lost my weapon as a result. It was
It took-
destroyed.
But
To
you
be
got
fair,
renowned.
I'd have done it. I'd have used Soulfire to do it, but you guys, I ended up being on the complete opposite side of the.
Well, that's okay. It wouldn't have mattered who did it. I mean, that's fine. It's just
And honestly,
that
for-
was
for-
the sacrifice you made for being the one to destroy.
You guys
all
just
the-
did it. You killed him, picked it up, and was like, "Screw it, whack."
Well, and for all the people
Yeah.
to do it,
Consultation at all.
for all the people in our group to do it, the rogue. I mean, look hindsight, it makes the most sense, right? Because for you, as long as you hit, you do a shitload of damage.
As long as I
And-
hit.
as long as you hit, right? So at this point, we also had the advantage from Dry as well, which is a big thing. But yeah, for us to lose, for Vommer to lose Delve or Kyle to lose Soulfire, that would have been a much bigger hit to the party.
It
I
would have
think.
been, yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
And,
I agree.
And don't worry, those who make that sacrifice,
Oh,
there's
it
still
did help her. Yeah.
There's still story coming. There's
Yes.
Oh.
You'll see in the second age there are how should we say implications for making that
okay.
sacrifice. So
I was rewarded handsomely for my sacrifice.
yeah, you got a lot of renown both in
got a
Avangard
boatload
and
of
with your
renown.
guild for doing it.
That's something we haven't actually talked about. So, like, you've got an entire renown system that you came up with that is both valley-wide and for your guild specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, how popular
and
you
people
are
have been
within
ranking
those.
up. That's how I went. That's how Kel went from being a lord to a count, and now he's a marquis.
Yeah.
And so
you paid for it. You bought it. Yeah. You bought that title.
I, however,
you can only
earned
buy
my
so
shit.
many ranking points, though.
I earned my
You're
shit.
only allowed to go so high.
Yeah.
So
Can't
Why
buy
won
yourself
you
a
title?
kingship. It's not
I
going to
was a
work.
Padfoot. I was a Padfoot. What was it that I became?
Let's see. You were sharper and expert. I think expert is what you
Expert.
Now you're
Expert. That's what it is. It
So,
earned
and
me
all of
that.
that's on the Figma site too.
Yeah.
You can go
Yes.
and see all the different
Yeah, I
renown
think,
tools.
How you progress.
Yeah,
Pretty cool
go
stuff,
to
man. Pretty
And we
PCs.
destroyed
Which
the.
again, that was one of the
Yeah.
coolest things about all of this.
Yeah, it added a whole new aspect to playing your character. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, ended up noble expert Braylon DeWarren, the Swift.
Nice.
Not bad for a street rat that came from an orphanage, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think in the you'll like the second age season intro too. There's some. I'm using some of the things that happen in kind of the final episodes, depending on who does it. Like destroying the legendary object, right? Kind of depends on the character. Kind of gets written into some legend and lore that'll help kick off the second age. So there's little tidbits that I want to carry over so that your actions don't go unrewarded, per se. Even though it may not be mechanical, it'll be legendary.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Destroying a
like that. I'm
legendary
glad you
object
did
with a
that.
legendary weapon is legendary.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. Moving it on so we could still live vicariously through.
Pretty cool.
Some
Pretty
means.
cool. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you guys took out Calvin Del Mar, who was an Oathbreaker paladin. So that's one of the things. It's like
Knew as a paladin. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Oathbreaker.
because
That makes sense.
he was blasting me every time I hit him.
That makes
Yep.
sense.
Right. Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yep.
Yep.
And every time he hit smite, that kind of a thing. So he was an Oathbreaker. And did paladin. He could lay on hands on himself, which he did. And having mobility, the great escape.
The mobility.
The only way to get around a sentinel feat in the entire game is mobility. That is that.
We learned that the hard way.
You can do one of two
Kyle?
things. You can shove or you can use
so
mobility.
So
I know
mad.
you were.
Go back and watch that stream, and if
You
when
fought-
that
you
happens, you
fought
can
that.
see my face. I'm just
Like he did what?
He
He
tried to
did
fight
what?
that too.
He's like, look it up. Get the book. Look it up. Look it up.
Look
I'm
it
like,
up,
I've already
look
done
it
it.
up.
I've already done it. It's like, yep. So yeah,
So
mobility
bad.
and shove attack are the only ways you can really get around Sentinel, other than the fact they miss. Which is like the couple of times you did it, it even had you on the ground where you're attacking at disadvantage. You still hit.
Oh yeah,
Like, damn it.
Cortosh,
That was
Cortosh
bad.
actually knocked me to the floor and with a wing beat, and even rolling with disadvantage when he tried to fly away, I still clapped him to the floor. I was like, "No, sit."
You are not.
So you guys disappeared the aspect. So you managed to actually stick around and beat it. When it died, it rebirthed, and then of course, it rebirthed, and it doesn't have its mythic powers. So now he's kind of wigging out, and so he disappears. And for you guys, that's the end of your campaign. You've success. You kind of haul ass out. And then obviously the Saren Defenders had a second part. And then the Fellhammer 5 have a third part in order to defeat the aspect. Well, if you watch the stream, actually, Saren Defenders aren't on a stream, but the Saren Defenders managed to infiltrate the Hand Guild, take out Ghost, which avenged Ghost ended up killing their
nice
noble
bounty for
families,
that, I'm
right? So
sure.
they had a little noble murder on their side of the fence too, right? Ghost was basically killing their families trying to keep them, intimidate them, to keep them off the battlefield. So with everything that was going down, he didn't want those pesky adventurers coming after us. So he took out their noble families' heads and basically said, you do step out, and try to do anything. It's like, I'll kill more of you. Well, Sarah defenders, of course, are like, no, we're coming to kill you. So they go down there, take out him. And of course they smash the Orb of Calling when you needed it. And then several rounds later, Tiamat shows up on them. They get Tiamat to half life. And they managed to, or they smashed the Orb of Bound Legends. I'm sorry, when y'all needed
Had
it.
to smash 2, right? So
Yeah.
They lost 2 legendary weapons.
So yeah, Eldor smashed the first one, and then Bran smashed the Orb of Calling once they got Tiamat bloodied, which sent her immediately away to the plateau. And then they sent the sending afterwards. Go, oh, by the way, she's on her way. Oops.
Yeah. So I got to ask. So they didn't know about the legendary weapons getting destroyed when they smashed the orb.
No.
They knew about that when they did the first one. So how
They
much
knew about
time
it
did they
after the
smash
first
the
one.
second one? Where they're like, no, I'm not going to do it. You do it.
No, actually, Bran stepped up and he's like, it's my turn. Wham.
Yeah.
He just.
See, now that, knowing what's going to happen, I think that should get a bigger payout. Yeah.
Oh, it will.
All right.
That's
Because
it.
knowing's half
It
the
is
battle.
now High
Yeah,
Priest
no.
Bran.
Yeah, nice.
Nice.
So the Church
up
of
there with
Selûne, being, you established the Church of Moradin, he established the Church of Selûne as full-on
Nice.
churches within the valley. So that was it.
Nice.
So that was 23 episodes. I guess if you had to sit back, and we're kind of at the end here, but we did really good time. So
Yeah, most impressive.
I mean,
Fun time was had by all.
from all in all, any other last comments on the recap of the Dragon Slayers of Velspar?
Well,
We're
after
currently-
this, in November, Braylon married Marcus, which is
Mhm.
Kel's brother.
Didn't
So
see that
now
coming at all.
Braylon is a noble, much to Von Mer's pleasure, because he loves nobles.
Displeasure. Freaking nobles. You're just
Well,
going
I'm
to
married
spawn
into the
more.
family. I'm married into the
Spawn
family.
more of those damn nobles.
And rather
It was-
than move into the keep, Marcus moved in with you and at your house inside town.
Before
One
they
that
got married.
the one that I earned money to build myself. I'm very
Yep,
proud of that.
Before
And I
they
still
got
take
married.
care of the orphanage.
Living it,
I still
yeah.
take care of the orphanage.
So, anything else to add, guys? This has been
No, good, man.
this has been
Awesome
awesome.
campaign,
Just kind of recapping the whole thing. I mean, I guess for me as a DM,
memory
it
lane.
brought back a lot of memories. And actually,
A lot of
I'm
memories.
very surprised at some of the things that you guys remembered. Even some of the small things I'd forgotten, and you guys are bringing them up, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I did that, or y'all
I
did
got
that,
way
or
too much-
it's like
Way
that
too
was
much
awesome.
brain power invested in this thing. I remember all kinds of stuff.
Well, awesome. Well, anybody who's watching, thanks for sticking with us. Hit
Thanks,
follow.
thanks,
It really helps us out. And check out our merch store if you really want to support us.
Yeah, see? Shirts.
Yep, shirt. It's Grim. And basically it all goes right back into the game. Trust me when I say that. It really just that's too much money poured in out there. But this and we're gonna do it all again. So I guess quickly. What do you guys? All three of you are actually playing characters in the second age. What do y'all think about that?
I'm
I'm looking forward to
excited.
it. Why wait
It's
till
a
January?
shift because I'm so attached and used to Berlin. I'm gonna have to get out of that mind space.
Well, I'm stuck.
I'm
playing
looking forward to
Terran,
it.
So
I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Yeah,
But
I'm
it is a shift.
gonna play a human
I'm
cleric
going
this time.
from playing the party tank basically to playing a ranged and utility role, which I've never done.
That's gonna
So
be
I'm
hard for
looking
you,
forward
dude.
to this.
That's gonna be hard for you.
And some,
Yeah.
and
I've
you
never
guys
done
are
a
actually,
team either.
Braylon and Von Mer, you'll be in the same group, but Kyle's actually going to be switching into a different group. So
Thank
new
God.
players.
I'm sorry. Did I say that?
I said,
You're
I'm
so
kidding. I'm
mean.
gonna miss you, man. I'm gonna miss you.
I would
I'm
never
gonna miss
say
you.
that.
well,
I
he
would
was
never
actually
say
he
that
was
to
actually
you.
requested by, especially by Logan. Logan's like, I really want to play with Kyle. I really want to play with Kyle.
Yeah,
It's
he
like-
did.
That's cool. That's cool.
So I was
But
like,
I'm
okay,
down for
well,
that.
I can
Yeah, I mean,
switch
I'm
them.
curious to hear how you make the switch, Kyle. I think that's going to be interesting for you.
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, this was really my first non-adventure league 5e game that I've played. Of course, I've played throughout the years. I've played 1e, 2e, 3.5,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to stick with something that I was familiar with as far as game mechanics, as far as how things played, which is one of the reasons I played the Battle Master Fighter. So
Right,
in
yeah.
the next age, I want to do something very different, and so I'm like, all right, this group as we were forming it, it's like we need somebody who's going to handle those utility things, who's going to be a range, and I wanted to do ranged combat because I've never done that before in any of my D&D games.
That's
So
pretty badass. Yeah.
I'm expanding my experiences within the game.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Awesome. Cool.
Cool stuff.
Well,
Still playing the noble though.
Good time.
playing a
man, good
knight.
times.
So yeah, he's
A knight.
in the
A
noble
knight,
circle.
yep. I'm gonna be a knight this time.
Okay, knight.
Well,
Cool.
thank everybody
I love
for being
this.
with us. This has been campaign review, and
Yes,
we
this was
will.
fun.
Yep. We'll hope to see you guys.
See everybody in the second age.
Hope to see
Bye.
you guys on the stream.
What are you doing? We're all so sit here.
Are we out?
Yeah, the stream just ended.